Chapter 1876. Yu Yunhe looked surprised. Brother Lin, both refining and setting up formations involve spiritual tattoos. Are you also a Taoist tattooist? Lin didn't deny it and said, let's get started. Yu Yunhe always felt it was very strange that such a fierce guy who could easily suppress the Saint King realm also knew spiritual tattoos. Although Yu Yunhe was puzzled, he still obediently took action. Child, are you going to take all the tasks related to refining and setting up formations in the task hall? The one in charge of the affairs of the task hall was a dignified, thin old man with a goatee. We learned the purpose of Yu Yunhe's visit. He was stunned. Yu Yunhe looked impatient. Why can't I? The old man with a goatee, named Hu Ming, was an old man of the Union Treasure Tower. He was very experienced, had great connections, and had an extremely high cultivation. He had been in charge of the task hall, but it was the first time that he had heard such a ridiculous request in these years. He almost suspected that Yu Yunhe was here to make trouble. Child, are you sure? Hu Ming took a deep breath and asked solemnly. Nonsense, are you deaf? Do you want me to say it again? Yu Yunhe said angrily. He looked very timid in front of Lin, but when facing others, the domineering arrogance of a noble son was immediately revealed. Of course, Hu Ming could see that Yu Yunhe's background was not simple. He said with a wry smile, Child, do you know that there are thousands of tasks related to refining and setting up formations, some of which no one has been able to complete for thousands of years? Before he finished, Yu Yunhe said with an unkind look, Old guy, you really talk too much nonsense. It's none of my business that others can't complete them. Or, are you looking down on me? Seeing this, Hu Ming immediately knew that he couldn't dissuade Lin, so he said in a low voice, Well, I'll prepare some tasks for you first. If you can complete them, I won't stop you anymore. Yu Yunhe thought for a while and looked at Lin Sun. Seeing Lin Sun nod in agreement, Yu Yunhe said to Hu Ming with a sneer, What are you waiting for? Get ready. Hu Ming's lips twitched, and he was annoyed, but he said, Child, wait a moment. He pondered for a moment before choosing a few missions from the huge light screen one after another. None of them could be considered difficult, but they weren't simple either. His goal was very simple. He wanted to test Yu Yunhe's limits. If he failed the mission, the one who would lose face would not be him. Hu Ming. Very quickly, a pile of jade slips appeared in Hu Ming's hands, and he handed them over to Yu Yunhe. He said, Young master, every mission requires a fee of 10 Dao gems. If the mission fails, the Dao gems won't be refunded. I hope you know this. Yu Yunhe immediately lost his arrogance. The Dao crystal on his body had all been taken as spoils of war by Lin Sun. Lin Sun walked over and handed the fee to Hu Ming. Hu Ming praised, Young master, this subordinate has good eyesight. Yu Yunhe felt uncomfortable all over. Subordinate? This fellow could even be the boss of a sage king. Lin Sun smiled and didn't explain. He took the jade slips and spread his divine sense into one of them. This was a weapon refinement mission issued by a weapon refinement master. He wanted to refine a flying sword and set up 3,300 layers of Dao pattern restrictions on it. However, he encountered a problem. The material of the flying sword was enough, but he failed repeatedly when setting up the formations. In the jade slips, the names of the 3,300 layers of Dao pattern restrictions were also listed in detail. The requirements of the mission were very simple. If he could provide a solution to the problem, he would be rewarded with 500 Dao gems. Lin Sun glanced at it, and dozens of ways emerged in his mind in an instant, each of which could easily solve the problem. At the same time, Hu Ming was surprised. Young master, your subordinate also knows spiritual tattoos? Yu Yunhe felt more and more uncomfortable. How could he have the courage to act as Lin Sun's master? He forced a smile and didn't say anything. At this moment, Hu Ming noticed that Lin Sun was looking at the second jade slip. He immediately smiled and said, The first jade slip was issued by an elder of Yunyan Chi sect. It's a little difficult to set up 3,300 layers of restrictions on a flying sword. He subconsciously thought that Lin Sun couldn't solve this task. Yu Yunhe couldn't help but look at Lin Sun. Seeing Lin Sun's indifferent expression, he couldn't help comforting himself in his heart. Just accompany this guy and make him happy. Anyway, even if he failed in the end, it was not him who would lose face. Okay. In just a moment, Lin Sun withdrew his spiritual awareness, which made Yu Yunhe and Hu Ming stunned. Brother Lin, have you encountered any problems? Seeing this, Yu Yunhe looked at Hu Ming unkindly. Old guy, are you deliberately giving us some difficult tasks to make fun of us? Hu Ming said unhappily. Young master, although these tasks are not easy, they are not the most difficult. What's more, don't forget that if I didn't dissuade you, I'm afraid you would take all the tasks related to refining and setting up formations. Yu Yunhe was suddenly speechless. Seeing him being defeated, Hu Ming was very happy in his heart. He deliberately provoked Lin Sun. Young master, don't forget that the Dao gems paid are not refundable. Yu Yunhe said angrily. Do you think I lack this little money? Hu Ming smiled and said nothing. Who said I failed? Lin Sun said, feeling a little funny. He raised his hand and threw those jade slips to Hu Ming. The solutions have been recorded one by one. You'd better confirm them as soon as possible. We'll leave later. Hu Ming was stunned there with a suspicious face. He almost couldn't believe his ears. In just a short time, more than 10 tasks were all solved. Yu Yunhe was also stunned. Could it be true? Hu Ming took a deep breath and looked at those jade slips for a while. He found that each task did have a detailed solution. He didn't dare to neglect and said, Come on, inform the issuers of these tasks with the long-distance messenger talisman and ask them to confirm these tasks. 2 attendants came up and left after receiving the order. Young master, is this subordinate of yours a Taoist tattoo master? Hu Ming looked surprised. He still couldn't believe it until now. Yu Yunhe's face darkened. He gritted his teeth and corrected. What subordinate? This is my friend. You old guy have eyes but fail to see. Lin Sun said, Time is precious. Let's continue. We still need to accept tasks? Yu Yunhe was stunned. Don't you want to continue after those tasks that have been solved have been confirmed? He was also very uneasy in his heart. Hu Ming said, Yes, we can't afford to make mistakes in such a matter. He also doubted whether those tasks that Lin Sun had solved in such a short time were successful or not. Lin Sun raised his eyebrows and said calmly, No need to wait. Let's continue. As he said, he took out another batch of Taoist crystals and handed it over. Seeing this, Hu Ming was surprised, but he still took action and selected a batch of tasks for Lin Sun. The rewards were higher than those of the previous batch, but the difficulty was also higher. After a while, Lin Sun looked calm. He solved these tasks one by one and handed them to Hu Ming. Still so fast? Yu Yunhe gasped. Hu Ming looked as if he had seen a ghost. He was eager to know how many tasks Lin Sun had solved in the first batch. Only in this way could he infer whether Lin Sun was deliberately mystifying or he really had some skills. Go on, Lin Sun said concisely. He didn't want to talk nonsense. Time was precious. Of course, making money was the most important. Okay. Hu Ming gritted his teeth and started to choose tasks for Lin Sun again. Yunyan Treasure Tower was the largest treasure tower in Yunyan City. It was extremely famous, and countless practitioners came here every day. And there was an endless stream of people around the Hall of Tasks. The scene of Lin Sun accepting tasks was soon noticed by many practitioners. They stood aside and watched curiously. Is this guy a Taoist tattoo master? You didn't see how fast he finished the tasks. In a short time, he can finish about 10 tasks. Really? Of course it's true. But the tasks he has completed have not been confirmed yet, so it's not clear whether they are successful or not. I see. Haha. Now there's a show to watch. If he fails, he will definitely become a joke. If he succeeds, maybe he will become famous overnight. The crowd was talking about it. They looked at Lin Sun with more or less suspicion. Lin Sun seemed to be unaware of this. He sat on the fishing platform and focused all his attention on the plan to make money. Yu Yunhe felt like he was sitting on pins and needles, and his expression was a little stiff. He was not as calm as Lin Sun. Seeing more and more people watching the show, he couldn't help but worry. If the tasks completed by this guy turned out to be a failure, it would be a great loss of face, and he was destined to become a laughingstock. Only Nan Xiu stood quietly beside Lin's son. Since she left the Tianxu realm, she had experienced many incredible things, which made her have blind confidence in Lin's son. Child, do you want to continue? Hu Ming couldn't help but dissuade Lin's son. In just half an hour, you have completed 119 tasks. Why don't you take a break and wait for the results? The onlookers also nodded. The speed at which Lin's son completed the tasks was so amazing that it made them dizzy and unbelievable. Lin's son said without raising his head, "No need. Continue." The corner of Hu Ming's mouth twitched. This guy was really arrogant. Even a Taoist tattoo master couldn't do it in such a short time. He suspected that Lin's son was deliberately mystifying, because during this period, the tasks he chose for Lin's son were getting more and more difficult. But the time taken by Lin's son to complete these tasks almost never changed. He was still so fast and so understated, as if those difficulties were not difficult at all in his eyes. Lord Hu Ming, the first result is out. Suddenly, a servant hurried in, looking excited. Oh, what's the result? Hu Ming was also refreshed. He had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Yu Yunhe was inexplicably nervous. The onlookers nearby pricked up their ears at this moment. Success! The servant opened his mouth excitedly, his face full of amazement. There was a sudden uproar. Chapter 1877. Success! Hu Ming was in a trance for a while and immediately asked, "Which task?" The attendant said quickly, "The task of refining flying sword for the elder of Yunyan Chi sect is rewarded with 500 Taoist gems." Hu Ming nodded. "Haha, old guy, what else do you have to say now?" Yu Yunhe shouted excitedly, "Come on, bring me the 500 Taoist gems." Hu Ming sneered, "It's just a successful task. Don't you feel happy too early?" The onlookers also laughed. Obviously, they also thought that Yu Yunhe couldn't keep his cool and got carried away. But in the next moment, another attendant rushed over and shouted, "Lord Hu Ming, it's a success. This time, there are a total of 3 missions, and all of them have been completed." The attendant was very excited and shocked. What? Hu Ming trembled all over, and his mind was in turmoil. The smiles of the onlookers froze and became uncertain. Success again? It should be noted that among all the tasks in the task hall, the tasks involving refining and setting up formations were more difficult than other tasks. Otherwise, the person who issued the task would not offer such a high reward. At this moment, Lin's son, who completed the tasks at lightning speed, had succeeded 4 times. This was enough to move people. Yu Yunhe was already beaming with joy and said with a victorious posture, "Am I happy too early?" "Haha, old guy, this only proves that you are too ignorant." Hu Ming looked stiff and snorted. "Don't forget that so far, your companion has completed more than 100 tasks. Can you guarantee that he will succeed every time?" Yu Yunhe looked dull and said angrily, "What if he succeeds in the end?" Hu Ming said with a fake smile, "Do you think it's possible? Are you kidding me? More than 100 tasks. Even if a Taoist tattoo master came, he could not guarantee that he would not fail once." As the person in charge of the task hall, Hu Ming had the opportunity to meet several Taoist tattoo masters over the years, but without exception, they inevitably had some flaws when they completed the tasks. Hu Ming didn't believe that Lin's son would be more powerful than a Taoist tattoo master. To everyone's surprise, Yu Yunhe gritted his teeth and said, "Possible. It's totally possible." Hu Ming laughed, as if he didn't want to argue with Lin's son. The onlookers also burst into laughter. They regarded Yu Yunhe's behavior as anger and lack of confidence. From the beginning to the end, Lin's son didn't pay attention to this. He was focused on completing the mission and didn't have the mind to care about these small disputes. In short, making money was the most important thing. But soon, the atmosphere around the Hall of Missions exploded, accompanied by a series of voices. "Lord Hu Ming, I've received news that the 3 formations have been confirmed. Lord Hu Ming, 5 refining tasks have been confirmed. Lord Hu Ming." Almost at the same time, Hu Ming felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He almost jumped up. What was going on? He could no longer remain calm. Almost at the same time, an uproar broke out in the surroundings. "Isn't this too magical? Up until now, there hasn't been any news of mission failure. My God, this young master wouldn't be a Dao-marking grandmaster, right? Everyone was shocked, and the way they looked at Lin Sun changed. Yu Yun's face was glowing as he beamed with joy. Waving his arms, he said, "Old man, open your eyes wide and take a look." Hu Ming opened his mouth and was about to say something. A clamor of reports rang out again. "Lord Hu Ming, 2 tasks have been confirmed." Lord Hu Ming, the head of Cloud Mountain Sword Sect, said that this task solved his urgent need, and the solution provided was unexpectedly good. He has decided to double the reward to repay the friends who accepted the task. Lord Hu Ming, there's more news. Hu Ming was stunned for a while and couldn't help asking, "None of them failed?" The attendants all shook their heads. Hu Ming swallowed his saliva with difficulty and looked in a trance. It was the first time that he had seen such an incredible thing in the Hall of Missions for so many years. Who on earth was that guy? Was he really a hidden Dao-marking grandmaster? The people nearby were also shocked, and their faces were full of amazement. In front of the hard facts, they had to be convinced. In the following time, more and more news came back. Every task that was completed and finally confirmed by Lin Sun had no failure. Hu Ming was completely dumbfounded. There were more and more onlookers nearby. They all came here after hearing the news. When they learned what happened in front of the Hall of Missions, they were all surprised. Later, all the people looked at Lin Sun with uncontrollable shock, amazement, admiration, and admiration. A Dao-marking grandmaster with real talent was enough to win the greatest respect from any force and any practitioner. This was an unshakable recognition since ancient times. However, Lin Sun was still so young. Since he received and completed the tasks, his speed was not only stunning, but also he had never failed once from the beginning to the end. How could people not be shocked and amazed? In the end, even Hu Ming was completely convinced. He bowed to Yu Yunhe in shame and apologized. This old man has eyes but failed to see, and has neglected the 2 young masters. I hope you can forgive me. Yu Yunhe smiled and felt very comfortable. He said, "Forget it. How can I be an unforgiving person?" Soon after, he said, "However, the price that should be paid must not be one less." Hu Ming was speechless and said heroically, "Child, don't worry. Our Union Treasure Tower has never owed any guest any reward on credit." As time went by, Lin Sun was still receiving tasks. Similarly, every completed task was confirmed one after another, which caused a commotion from time to time. More and more cultivators converged in the vicinity of the assignment hall, and it was a rather magnificent scene as the crowd moved about. In the end, even Yu Yunhe was shocked. He never thought that Lin Sun, such a ruthless man, was really a great Dao-marking grandmaster. This was completely out of his expectation. At the same time, in an elegant room of the Union Treasure Tower, Master Mo, 3 months later, the trial of the Yu Secret Realm will open. At that time, the top figures of the 9 worlds in Zihang Star area will participate. Lan Sai, who was wearing a luxurious crane cloak, said softly, "My father invited you here, hoping to use your strength to help me and Yunzheng in the Yu Secret Realm." Sitting opposite her was a green-robed old man with white hair and a youthful face. Hearing this, he couldn't help but ponder. Lan Sai and Yu Yunzheng looked at each other and took out a jade box with a smile. After opening it, she put it in front of Master Mo. Then, she said, "My father told me that I won't let Master Mo work in vain. This is a small gift. I hope Master Mo won't refuse it." In the jade box, there was a radiant divine medicine, which turned into a dreamy light rain and smelled fragrant. The eyes of the green-robed old man, who was called Master Mo, lit up. Coiled dragon ginseng. This was a peerless divine medicine. In the Daiyu world, someone once offered 1,000,000 Taoist gems, but failed to buy this treasure. Master Mo took a deep breath and said with a bitter smile, "My 2 friends, although I'm respected as a Dao inscription grandmaster, I haven't entered the Daiyu secret realm. I'm afraid I won't be able to help much." Yu Yunzheng laughed heartily and said, "No matter what the result is, it's enough as long as Master Mo helps. Master Mo, please take a look." Lan Sai took out an ancient animal skin, which was branded with obscure Tao inscription Forbidden Arrays. This is the Forbidden Array diagram that covers a land of opportunity in the Dayu secret realm. It's a little incomplete. I believe that with your ability, you can easily break this array. Master Amo held in his hand and looked at it. After deducing for a long time, he smiled and nodded. It seems that it's not difficult for me. Lan Sai and Yu Yunzheng immediately smiled. Then, the guests and the host were happy and harmonious. Mississippi, a respectful voice came from outside the door of the elegant room. What's the matter? Lan Sai frowned. A very powerful Tao inscription grandmaster came to our Cloudy Rock treasure tower today. Didn't you tell me to report to you immediately if I meet such a person? The respectful voice sounded. Lan Sai was stunned. She immediately remembered that she had indeed given this order before she asked Master Amo for help. But now that Master Amo was here, she naturally couldn't be bothered to pay attention to other Tao inscription grandmasters. Lan Sai said casually, "You can leave. I understand this matter." At this moment, Master Amo couldn't help but say curiously, "I know most of the Tao inscription grandmasters in the Dayu world. I didn't hear that anyone came to the Cloudy Rock City today. It's really strange." Lan Sai saw this, and she couldn't help but be moved. "Come in." An attendant pushed the door open and entered. He bowed and saluted. "Miss, what can I do for you?" Lan Sai said, "Tell me about the Tao inscription grandmaster who appeared in the Cloudy Rock treasure tower." The attendant hurriedly told her everything that happened in front of the mission hall. In the end, he said with admiration, "Now, even Lord Hu Ming is convinced and admires that young master." After Lan Sai understood this, she couldn't help but be surprised. "There's such a thing? Interesting." Master Imo stood up with a smile. "As fellow practitioners, I didn't know that there's such a person in the world. How about we go and have a look together? Pay a visit to this young master?" "Okay." Lan Sai and Yu Yunzheng immediately stood up. The three left the elegant room and walked towards the mission hall. From a distance, they could see that there was a sea of people around the mission hall. It was very lively. Lan Sai couldn't help but be astonished because such a thing had never happened before. "What? How could it be this idiot?" Yu Yunzheng was surprised. He saw Yu Yunhe in the depths of the crowd and Lin Sun, who was finishing a task. "Don't tell me he's the Tao pattern grandmaster you mentioned?" Yu Yunzheng asked the attendant beside him. The attendant answered honestly, "Young master, it's him." All of a sudden, Yu Yunzheng and Lan Sai were stunned. A subordinate of that ignorant and incompetent playboy was a Tao inscription grandmaster? Chapter 1878. Yu Yunhe, the direct descendant of the Yu clan's clan leader. He was a famous playboy in the great Yu world. How could Lan Sai not know this person? It was precisely because she knew this that her attitude towards Yu Yunhe was so cold when they first met. However, she had not expected that the subordinate by Yu Yunhe's side was actually a Tao pattern grandmaster who had concealed his abilities. She almost couldn't believe it. How could a Tao pattern grandmaster possibly hang out with an ignorant and incompetent silk pants? Lan Sai frowned and said, "Yunzheng, why do I feel that something is wrong? Does your sixth brother also want to participate in the great Yu mystery realm?" Yu Yunzheng's heart tightened. He also felt that this was inconceivable. In the Imperial Clan Yu clan, Yu Yunhe's status was indeed extraordinary. However, everyone knew that this clan chief's son was nothing more than a useless silk pants with a golden exterior. The reason why Yu Yunhe was able to become a great sage was entirely because of his extraordinary bloodline talent and the accumulation of countless resources. Even when he joined the Pill Cauldron Tao sect to cultivate, his father stepped forward and spent a lot of effort to make it happen. From the beginning until the end, Yu Yunzheng hadn't taken this younger brother seriously at all. Yet now, he brought a Tao-marking grandmaster with him, and this seemed to be too inconceivable. Does he also realize that if he doesn't fight for an opportunity, he will lose the right to inherit the clan leader's position after the sect competition? Yu Yunjing's expression was uncertain. "Great! That's amazing!" There was an uproar near the mission hall. Lan Sai asked, "Elder Imo, can you see the young man's attainment in Tao pattern? Elder Emo muttered, if I test him, I might be able to see some clues. Lan Tsai's eyes flickered. Then I'll have to trouble Elder Emo to help. Elder Emo was also curious as to when such a young Tao pattern grandmaster appeared in the Great U world. Hearing this, he immediately agreed. He thought for a while and took out a jade slip that was filled with the aura of time and passed it to Lan Tsai. This is an obscure formation that I saw in an ancient ruin by chance when I was roaming a small world all those years ago. With my ability, I was barely able to copy this formation, yet I was unable to see through its profundities. Old Emo sighed. All these years, I've been trying to deduce this formation, but I still can't solve it. If this lad can solve it, it's enough to prove that his attainments in the Tao of spiritual runes far surpass mine. How is this possible? Yu Yunzheng immediately laughed. In the Great Yu realm, there were very few great masters of Tao inscriptions. Elder Mo was one of the most experienced great masters of Tao inscriptions. Many years ago, he became famous and was regarded as one of the 4 great masters of Tao inscriptions. Even Elder Hiroshi couldn't break this ancient Tao restriction. So how can an ordinary person break it? That's fine as well. I'll make use of this opportunity to dampen their arrogance. Lan Tsai's eyes were cold. In the crowd in the distance, Yu Yunzheng was beaming with joy and complacency, which made Lan Tsai feel uncomfortable. She gave the jade slip given by Elder Mo to the attendant next to her and said, "Go, give it to Hu Ming. Tell him that this is a task that has just been issued. Whoever can solve it will be rewarded with 100,000 Tao gems." 100,000? Yu Yunzheng was surprised. Lan Tsai laughed and said, "Don't be surprised. Do you think that lad can break the Tao restriction? Giving out so many Tao gems is just a bait." "How many Tao gems have you earned?" Lin Sun asked casually after completing the last task in his hand. Yu Yunzheng's face glowed, and he said excitedly, "At present, there are 393 confirmed tasks, and we can get a total of 323,600 Tao gems. More than 320,000 Tao gems. Even to a domineering and profligate young master like him, this could be considered to be a huge fortune. If I'm at the Great Saint realm, these Tao gems are only equivalent to less than a year of cultivation." Lin Sun frowned slightly. He only needed an opportunity to break through to the Saint King realm. At that time, these Tao gems could only support his cultivation for a shorter time. In the final analysis, he still had to make money. Tao gems could not only be used for cultivation, but also as a kind of currency. Whether it was to buy things or take a ship, it was indispensable. "Go on." Lin Sun didn't even raise his head. He decided to take this opportunity to make a fortune, so that he wouldn't have to worry about it in the future. Hu Ming stepped forward and said respectfully, "Child, this is a task that has just been issued. It's related to breaking the Tao restriction formation. The reward is 100,000 Tao gems. Are you interested?" 100,000. There was a sound of gasping in the field. It was a complete sensation. A task with a price of 100,000 Tao gems was rarely seen in the whole Diyu world, not to mention in the Union Treasure Tower. This was amazing, but at the same time, everyone's curiosity was aroused at once. What kind of task was it that the task issuer didn't hesitate to throw in such a shocking reward? The only thing they were sure of was that this task was destined to be extremely tricky and difficult. Even ordinary Tao master couldn't handle it. At this time, Yu Yunhe was surprised and shouted, "Is the guy who issued the task out of his mind?" In the distance, Lan Kai was very satisfied with the sensation this time. But when she heard Yu Yunhe's words, her pretty face became gloomy, and her eyes were full of coldness. This bastard really needed to be taught a lesson. Yu Yunzheng hurriedly said, "Tsai, calm down. I will punish him for you later." Lin Sun was also stunned at this time. He felt a little surprised. He took the jade slip in his hand and began to look it up. The atmosphere in the field also became silent. All eyes turned to Lin Sun in unison. Lan Kai, Yu Yunzheng, and Old Mo were also paying close attention to it. Would he take this task or not? After a while, Lin Sun said yes. These 2 words were like thunder, which made everyone present excited. It was as if they were witnessing an unprecedented show. A mission of 100,000 Tao crystals. The other party actually had the guts to accept it. Lan Kai and Yu Yunzheng looked at each other, and then at Old Emo. Old Emo was also a little surprised and said, "This lad actually took it. Didn't he see the power of that ancient Tao formation?" Lan Kai took a deep breath and said, "Next, he might not succeed. Let's wait and see." Yu Yunzheng nodded in agreement. He was very confident in Old Mo's strength and didn't believe that Lin Sun could complete this task that even Old Mo couldn't do. Lin Sun began to move. His expression was calm and composed. One couldn't see any nervousness or pressure on him from his appearance. His divine sense surged into the jade slip like a tide, and the diagram of the ancient forbidden array was reflected in his mind. He began to deduce. Time trickled by bit, and the atmosphere in the mission hall became slightly tense and oppressive. Everyone held their breaths in concentration for fear of disturbing Lin Sun. At this moment, Old Mo was also watching Lin Sun without blinking. Different from Lan Kai and Yu Yunzheng, as a Tao Tattoo Grandmaster, he didn't have any prejudice against Lin Sun. He was just curious about when there was such a young Tao Tattoo Grandmaster in the Daiyu world. He had never heard of him before. Yu Yunzheng also began to feel nervous. Previously, no matter what task Lin Sun accepted, he would complete it in a very short time and didn't encounter any obstacles. But this time, Lin Sun still didn't have any reaction after a quarter of an hour. How could Yu Yunzheng not feel nervous? Other people present also noticed this scene and secretly felt worried for Lin Sun. It seems that he can't do it. Yu Yunzheng laughed, as if he had been relieved of a heavy burden. Lan Kai said confidently, "I have said that even Old Mo couldn't break the Tao formation. How could a guy who popped out of nowhere be able to break it?" Elder Hiroshi explained, "This formation is extremely obscure. It's clearly impossible to crack it in such a short period of time. I've been troubled by this problem for so many years, but haven't I still been at my wit's end?" After a pause, he continued, "I think that even if this lad can't break this formation, he is not an ordinary person." Yu Yunzheng felt a little uncomfortable in his heart, but he said with a smile, "In my opinion, Old Mo thinks too highly of this lad. Since he can hang around with my ignorant and incompetent sixth brother, he must not be a good guy." Old Mo frowned and didn't answer. At this moment, Lin Sun, who had been silent, withdrew his spiritual awareness and handed the jade slip to Hu Ming. All of a sudden, everyone was refreshed. Did he succeed? "Child, is it possible?" Hu Ming couldn't help asking. "It has been cracked, and the method is recorded in it," Lin Sun said casually. His words completely stirred up the emotions that had been suppressed for a long time and caused an uproar. Yu Yunjing's face was full of excitement, and his eyes were shining as if he was looking at a deity. Didn't this mean that he had got 100,000 Tao gems? It's impossible. Suddenly, someone cried out loudly. Then, Yu Yunzheng saw Yu Yunzheng, Lan Sai, and the others walking towards him, all of them looking very gloomy. "Lan Sai, look, Master Mo is here. I didn't expect that he would come to our Cloudy Rock City." There was a commotion in the field, and many people recognized the identity of Lan Sai and Master Mo. Yu Yunzheng was very unhappy and said with no expression, "Third brother, what do you mean by impossible? I remember that you don't seem to understand spiritual tattoos at all, do you?" Yu Yunzheng snorted coldly. "I don't understand, but someone naturally understands. Master Mo, please come and see if this lad has really broken this formation." Yu Yunzheng was stunned at first, and then he immediately realized something and shouted, "What? Don't tell me you were the one who issued this quest?" "Sixth brother, you have become smarter," Yu Yunzheng said coldly and did not deny it. Yu Yunzheng said with a gloomy face, "So, when you issued this task, you deliberately wanted to embarrass us and make fun of us?" Yu Yunzheng did not deny it and looked at Master Mo. At this time, Master Mo also looked puzzled, surprised, excited, and curious. He didn't care about other things. What he cared about was whether Lin Sun had really broken this formation. Chapter 1879. Master Mo stepped forward. He was a little impatient. "Fellow practitioner, can you let me have a look?" The jade slip was in Hu Ming's hand, but Master Mo looked at Lin Sun, cupped his hands, and spoke in a very humble manner. "Sure." Lin Sun nodded. He also looked at Yu Yunzheng and Lan Cai, and a cold light flashed in his black eyes. Whoosh! Master Mo took a deep breath, took the jade slip from Hu Ming, and explored it with his spiritual awareness. All the people present held their breath and concentrated. Master Mo, one of the four great Taoist grandmasters in the Yu world, was second to none. Who didn't know him? This task was issued by him, so he undoubtedly had the most say at this moment whether the task was successful or not. Lan Cai and Yu Yunzheng couldn't help being nervous. "I see." After a while, everyone saw Master Mo cry out involuntarily, as if he was struck by lightning, with unconcealable excitement and sudden realization on his face. All of a sudden, everyone was in an uproar. The answer was self-evident. Lan Cai and Yu Yunjing's hearts sank to the bottom, and their faces were a little gloomy. How could this be possible? Master Mo took a deep breath, and with a rare look of respect on his face, he cupped his hands to Lin Sun in a humble manner. "Fellow practitioner, may I ask for advice?" "You're with the two of them?" Lin Sun glanced at Yu Yunzheng and Lan Cai. Master Mo immediately showed a wry smile and said with shame, "To tell you the truth, this task was issued by me. Originally, I wanted to test your attainments in Taoist tattoo, but I didn't expect to offend you. Please forgive me." As he said, he bowed to salute. All the people present were shocked. This was the world-famous Master Mo. But now, he bowed his head in front of a young man as if he had made a mistake. "Master Mo, why do you do this?" Yu Yunjin was anxious. Master Mo shook his head. "You don't understand. The one who understands Taoist tattoo is the teacher. This young friend's attainments in Taoist tattoo have reached a height that I can only look up to. Even if I have to bow to him as a disciple, as long as I can solve the doubts in my heart, I am willing to do it." Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Master Mo is indeed Master Mo. It's hard not to admire his demeanor and breadth of mind. Lin Sun said, "If you want to talk, you can do it later. Now I just want to know who will pay for it." Master Mo smiled and said, "I'll do it." "Wait." Lan Cai walked forward. "This reward was decided by me, so should be paid by me. Hu Ming, go and get 100,000 Dao crystals." Hu Ming quickly nodded in agreement. The Cloud Rock Treasure Pavilion was the property of the Cloud Rock Energy Sect, and Lan Cai was the daughter of the sect leader, Lan Tianyu. No one would dare to disobey her. Hee, this is called going for wool and coming home shorn. Yu Yunhe sneered. He was very unhappy. This mission was actually planned by Yu Yunzheng. Although Lin Sun completed it successfully, it made Yu Yunhe extremely angry. "Six, brother, how could you say that?" Yu Yunzheng berated, his expression gloomy. He was so angry that he almost went crazy. Originally, he wanted to kill Lin Sun's arrogance and beat Yu Yunhe, but he failed. "How could I say that?" Yu Yunhe completely broke out. "Third brother, do you really think I don't know how you think of me?" When Yu Yunzheng was about to say something, Lan Cai frowned and said, "Enough. Haven't you made enough jokes? Or should I say, the two of you want everyone to see the Yu clan and Emperor clan become a joke?" Yu Yunzheng was speechless. Yu Yunhe snorted coldly. Lan Cai looked at Lin Sun, squeezed out a smile on her cold and proud face, and said, "Child, what happened before was just a misunderstanding. In order to apologize, I'm willing to give you 50,000 Dao crystals as compensation." Everyone present couldn't help but click their tongues. It was just an apology. 50,000 Dao crystals? What a big deal. What was more unexpected was that Lin Sun directly refused and said indifferently, "No, I only take what I should take." Lan Cai frowned slightly, but still said with a smile, "Child is very magnanimous. I also deeply admire you. There are too many people here. Why don't we talk in private?" Lin Sun glanced at her thoughtfully and said, "Forget it. I'm not interested in getting involved in your business." Lan Cai's clear eyes flashed with anger. In this cloudy rock city, no one dared to disrespect her again and again. Yu Yunzheng opened his mouth with a gloomy look, Friend, I just want to talk with you. Why are you so unreasonable? There was a hint of threat in his voice. Lin Sun couldn't help but laugh and said, I don't want to and I don't want to. If I'm unreasonable, then you can be unreasonable. The atmosphere was a little depressing and tense. Old Emo hurriedly came out to smooth things over and said with a smile, For my sake, how about we both take a step back? Lin Sun said, Okay, we'll pay the bill and leave immediately. Hu Ming's eyes flashed as he looked at Lan Cai. Lan Cai took a deep breath and said, Hu Ming, our Cloudy Rock Tower doesn't have the tradition of going back on our word. Hu Ming understood tacitly and hurriedly went to prepare the Taoist crystals for Lin Sun. Not long after, Hu Ming returned and handed a storage bag to Lin Sun, saying, There are 436,600 Taoist crystals in it. Please have a look. Lin Sun scanned it with his divine awareness and nodded, yes. Then, he turned around and left with Yu Yunhe and Nanxiu. From beginning to end, he didn't look at Lan Cai and Yu Yunjing again. Child, old Emo was a little anxious. He still wanted to ask Lin Sun some questions. These are some tips to break the formation. Take it and have a look yourself. Lin Sun threw a jade slip to old Emo without looking back. Old Mo carefully put it away as if he had found a treasure and cupped his hands towards Lin Sun's receding figure. Damn it! In the same elegant room, Yu Yunjung showed a ferocious look and smashed the teacup in his hand. Yu Yunhe, an idiot who had been despised by him for many years, now had the help of a Taoist master, which was unacceptable to Yu Yunjung until now. Judging from Master Mo's attitude, that boy's attainments in Taoist patterns are obviously more terrible. If your stupid sixth brother has his help, he will have a great advantage when entering the Diyu secret realm, which will be very disadvantageous for you and me. Lan Cai calmly analyzed. You should know that if you want to become the young patriarch after the clan competition, you must go to the Diyu secret realm and take back an ancient treasure left by your ancestor Emperor Yu. Now that your stupid sixth brother has the help of that person, there are bound to be many variables. Yu Yunjing's heart tightened, and he said, Cai, what do you think we should do? Lan Cai's eyes were cold, and she said, A man must be ruthless. He who strikes first has the upper hand. Yu Yunjung cried out involuntarily, You want me to kill my sixth brother? Absolutely not. Our clan doesn't mind fighting among our clansmen, but if we kill each other, we will suffer the most severe punishment. Lan Cai shook her head and said, Yinzheng, you misunderstood. I mean, kill that young man with the surname Lin. If we get rid of him, your stupid sixth brother will lose everything he can rely on. How can he fight against you? Yu Yunjing's eyes brightened, and he said, This plan is feasible. Then he frowned and said, The only problem is that the surname Lin is obviously an extremely powerful Taoist master. What if? There is no what if. Lan Cai said resolutely, This area of tens of thousands of miles is our Cloudy Rock Cheese Sect's territory. Killing a Taoist master is not a difficult thing. Yu Yunjung took a deep breath and gritted his teeth. Then let's do it. Of course, if we can solve the problem without fighting, it will undoubtedly be the best. The reason why I talked to that surname Lin was to find out the truth and his background. Lan Cai muttered. However, I will try again. Whatever benefits Yu Yunhe gave him, I will double it and try to make him work for us. Yu Yunjung smiled and said with a smile, Cai, you are so thoughtful. Lan Cai smiled sweetly and said in a soft voice, It's all for you. Yu Yunjing's heart swayed. He couldn't help holding the beauty in front of him in his arms and making love with her in a hurry. Brother Lin, this time he got into trouble because of me. Walking out of the Cloudy Rock Palace, Yu Yunjung said with shame. Lin Sun asked, Speaking of which, I am your enemy. Don't you hate me? Yu Yunjung hummed and said bitterly, A loser is not brave enough. I'm very grateful that Brother Lin can spare my life. He laughed at himself and said, I have been regarded as a playboy, an idiot, ignorant, and idle since I was a child. But they don't know that I just don't want to get involved in the internal fight of the clan, so I escape from those things. But things are contrary to people. Just because my father is the patriarch, they still regard me as a thorn in their side, Even if I act like a playboy and don't care about power, his voice was low and full of sadness. He had kept these words in his stomach for many years, but he had no one to tell. Lin Sun said with a faint smile, "Are you trying to win my sympathy and ask me to help you?" Yu Yunjing shook his head quickly. "I dare not." Lin Sun said, "Take me to your clan. If I can meet Senior Yu Qingyang, I can help you put in some words." Yu Qingyang. He was also the most dazzling emperor among the ancestors of the Yu clan. His fighting power had been the best in the world for 8,000 years, and he was honored with the title Qingyang Saber Emperor. Yu Yunjing couldn't help asking, "Brother Lin, there has been no news from old ancestor Qingyang for a long time. How do you know he is still alive?" Lin Sun thought, "Yu Qingyang was saved by me. How could I not know he is still alive?" But it was not appropriate to say these words to Yu Yunjing. Lin Sun said, "You will know when you go to your clan." Yu Yunjing thought of the token worn by old ancestor Qingyang in Lin Sun's hand. Maybe Lin Sun really knew some secrets that he didn't. "Let's go. I have completely offended your third brother and third sister-in-law today. If they hate me and want to harm me, it will not be so easy for me to leave." Lin Sun said casually with a subtle look in his eyes. Yu Yunjing said angrily, "How dare they?" Lin Sun said, "Do you know what is more terrible than ghosts and gods in this world?" "What?" Yu Yunjing was stunned. "Human heart." Lin Sun said these two words casually and walked forward. Thanks to Blue Feather Breeze for his gift. Chapter 1880. "Miss, they are heading out of the city. It is likely that they will leave today." A servant reported hurriedly. Lan Cai's eyes narrowed, and she said, "Let's go." Swoosh, swoosh. The void rippled, and two figures appeared. One was a bearded elder, and the other was a middle-aged man. "Miss, should we act now?" The bearded elder asked. "Uncles, thank you for your hard work." Lan Kai nodded. "Let's go." In the next moment, the bearded elder and the middle-aged man disappeared into thin air. "Kai, who are they?" Yu Yunjing couldn't help but ask. Just now, when the bearded elder and the middle-aged man appeared, it was as if two divine mountains had appeared out of thin air. That terrifying invisible pressure made it difficult to breathe. They're both elders from the Cloud Rock Energy sect and are very close to my father. One of them is named Wei Chong, and the other is Chai Feng. Both of them are Sage Kings, and with their help, killing a peak Great Sage Da Symbol Grandmaster would be a piece of cake. Yu Yunjing gasped at Lan Cai's words. In the Great Yu world, a Saint King was already an all-powerful figure. In the Yu family, a Saint King could also serve as a deacon or an elder. He was extremely powerful. Lan Kai said, "Yunjing, there is no need to fear you, Yunhe. What you need to be careful of are the other powerful figures in the younger generation of your clan. I suggest that you return to the clan and start preparing for the sect competition." Yu Yunjing immediately nodded in agreement. Two Kings Saint Realm elders of the Cloudy Rock Energy sect would kill a Taoist master in the territory of the Cloudy Rock Energy sect. There would be no accidents. Yu Yunjing reminded, "Kai, don't do anything to my sixth brother." Lan Kai smiled and said, "Don't worry. I know what to do." Swoosh. Outside the Cloudy Rock City, the vast universe arc appeared, carrying Lin Sun, Yu Yunhe, and Nanxiu. Our clan has lived on the Jiuhua Divine Mountain for generations. Not far from the Jiuhua Divine Mountain is the biggest city of the Great Yu world, Tianyi City. If Brother Lin doesn't mind, I will treat you and Miss Nanxiu to the beautiful scenery of Tianyi City. Yu Yunhe said with a smile. "Sure." Nanxiu readily agreed. Lin Sun thought of something and asked, "Child Yu, which sect is the strongest in the Dayu world?" "The Stellar Jade Sword Pavilion." Yu Yunhe said without hesitation, "This is the #1 orthodoxy in the Great Yu realm. There are countless sword cultivators in this sect, and there are many strong cultivators." Next is the Billowing Water Talisman sect. This sect is most proficient in the Tao of spiritual inscriptions. For example, Master Mo that we met came from this sect. Next is the Pill Cauldron Tao sect. Yu Yunhe spoke with fervor and assurance, as if he was very familiar with the forces of the world. Lin Sun asked, "What about your Yu clan? How is it compared with these sects?" The light in Yunha's eyes suddenly dimmed greatly, and he said, "Since ancestor Qin Yang left all those years ago, the strength of our clan has been greatly inferior to the past. Up until now, it's barely on par with the pill cauldron Dao sect." He paused for a while and said confidently, "However, in the great Yu world, if the Yu clan dares to claim to be the second strongest, then no one dares to claim to be the first. Brother Lin, you probably don't know that the name of the great Yu world was named by Emperor Yu, the ancestor of the Yu clan." Lin Sun couldn't help but be surprised. A big world was named after the Yu clan, an imperial family. This was indeed extraordinary and extremely extraordinary. After thinking for a while, Lin Sun made up his mind that when he left the great Yu world, he would find a sect that Nanxiu liked and let her cultivate in it. "Child Lin, please wait." Suddenly, an old voice sounded outside the treasure ship. "Stay here and don't move." Lin Sun seemed to have foreseen this. With a calm expression, he floated out of the treasure ship. In the distant sky, the curly-bearded old man Wei Chong and the middle-aged man, Chai Feng, stood in the void, like two natural moats, blocking the way. "Did Lan Sai ask you to come?" Lin Sun asked. Wei Chong showed a touch of surprise and said, "Yes, Miss Sai appreciates you very much, so she specially asked us to come and meet you." Chai Feng said in a deep voice, "Cut to the chase. If you're willing to leave Yu Yunha, Miss Sai will agree to any conditions." On the treasure ship, Yu Yunha's heart tightened. He was shocked and angry. What a vicious bitch. How could he not see that this action was aimed at him? Wei Chong took out a jade box and smiled kindly. "To show my sincerity, this green light grass is a greeting gift." Hiss! Yu Yunha sucked in a breath of cold air. The dark glow jade-like grass was a peerless divine medicine that was priceless and extremely rare. Just based on this, Yu Yunha was more certain that Lan Sai and Yu Yunzheng were desperate to deal with him. "What if I don't agree?" Lin Sun asked. Wei Chong's smile faded, and he said, "Child, you are a smart man. You should know what is the wisest choice to make." Chai Feng said in a deep voice, "It's not worth it to lose your life for a fool. I hope you will reconsider." The two King of Sages didn't take Lin Sun and Yu Yunha seriously from the beginning to the end, and they were in the territory of Yun Yanqi sect. The reason why they showed such a peaceful attitude was because of Lan Sai's advice. At this moment, Lin Sun suddenly sighed. "I've already warned Lan Sai not to get involved in these things, but now it seems that she doesn't want to let me go." Wei Chong and Chai Feng looked indifferent and didn't deny it. "Unfortunately, you chose the wrong person." With a low voice, Lin Sun's figure disappeared into thin air. The next moment, he appeared in front of Wei Chong and raised his fist to attack. Boom! In the blink of an eye, Lin Sun seemed to have turned into another person. He was restrained to the extreme, and his seemingly ordinary Qi broke out at this moment. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, no one would believe that a person's Qi could change so quickly. It was like the most ordinary, unpolished jade turned into a shining sun in an instant. Wei Chong's pupil shrank. He didn't expect that Lin Sun, a mere great saint, would choose to fight with two King of Sages in such a situation. This was crazy. Lin Sun was really overestimating himself. As soon as this thought came to Wei Chong's mind, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. What a terrifying fist force. Lin Sun's fist was not only fast, but also full of fierce and domineering great Wei, which made Wei Chong feel suffocated. Boom! Almost subconsciously, Wei Chong pressed out his palm. Heaven-defying great seal. It was just a palm print, but it was as powerful as the sky. In the deafening roar, a scene that shocked Wei Chong appeared. His palm print, filled with the power of the realm of Tao, was smashed like a piece of paper. The terrible fist force swept across Wei Chong's body. Wei Chong staggered back and coughed up blood. He cried out involuntarily, "How is this possible?" Not far away, Chai Feng's heart trembled, and his expression changed greatly. There was a big gap between a great saint and a king of sages. It was like the difference between heaven and earth. Since ancient times, few people could break this natural moat and fight across realms. But now Lin Sun did it. Chai Feng almost couldn't believe his eyes. Suppress. In the cold voice, 72 earthly evil sword mountains rushed out from Lin Sun's body. The sword chi was dense and boundless. Wei Chong roared and attacked with all his strength. He operated the cultivation of the king of sages to the extreme, and the light around him soared into the sky. Die! Lin Sun's expression was calm. 72 earthly evil sword mountains attacked, and the world was covered by the white, brilliant sword chi. Boom! In an instant, Wei Chong's whole body was submerged in it. He was invaded by the dense sword chi like a raging sea, and his flesh and blood flew everywhere. He struggled madly and screamed, but it was of no use. The ocean-like sword chi covered him and completely suppressed him. In just a second, his voice stopped abruptly, and there was no more movement. The elder of Yin Chi sect, Wei Chong, a king of sages, was killed at this moment. No, this is impossible. This is impossible. Chai Feng cried out involuntarily, and he was completely stimulated. In just a short moment, an absolute great saint had easily crushed a saint king whose name shook the 4 seas. Who could believe it? This time, the two of them took this action as a trivial matter, thinking that they could solve it effortlessly. Who would have thought that the prey they didn't take seriously at all was a heaven-defying monster? Swish! Lin Sun didn't delay and attacked again. His figure moved in the air and attacked Chai Feng. What king of sages? As long as he didn't set foot on the peerless path, he was no threat to him at all. Ma Taijin of Danding Taoism sect was so powerful, but he was easily suppressed in the end. If he thought that he could suppress Lin Sun because he was much higher in cultivation, he would be making a big mistake. Slash! Chai Feng roared, and the saber on his back suddenly swept out, evolving into a Tao field. The saber chi was like a torrential downpour. Storm saber boundary. This was Chai Feng's Tao field. It integrated the power of saber Tao into his body, and the murderous spirit was earth-shattering. Being in it, there was boundless saber chi in all directions. Break! Lin Sun had long had the experience of fighting against the Tao field. Without hesitation, he took out the broken saber and performed Tian Yuan chop with all his strength. Boom! The incomparably gorgeous sharpness made a sharp whistling sound, and the storm saber boundary was torn like a piece of cloth. Then, the entire Tao field exploded, causing the world to shake and the clouds to collapse. Chai Feng was so shocked that his soul almost left his body. The power of the Tao field was so terrifying, but it couldn't do anything to a peerless great saint. This was too shocking and subverted his understanding. Seeing Lin Sun coming, Chai Feng fled without hesitation. He was scared out of his wits. Unfortunately, it was still a step too late. Since Lin Sun had made a move, how could he allow the enemy to leave alive? Boundless world. He took a deep breath and drew a line in the air with his fingers. A few hundred kilometers away, a boundless finger force appeared in the sky, and it smashed down fiercely, causing the sky to collapse and shatter like fragile glass. Chai Feng's figure staggered and fell out. Before he could react, a snow-white broken saber had suddenly slashed at him. Puff! Blood rained down. A huge head was thrown into the air. Chapter 1881. There was dead silence. On the treasure ship, Yu Yunhe was in a trance. Even though he had already seen the scene of Lin Sun suppressing Ma Taijin, he was still shocked when he saw the 2 Saint Kings being killed like cutting melons and vegetables. Where did this guy come from? Even the top 10 on the Starry Sky Great Sage list were not as fierce as him. Bang! When Lin Sun was about to clean up the spoils, a bright firework suddenly rushed out of Chai Feng's body and broke through the sky. Oh no, it's a message talisman for help. Yu Yunhe's face suddenly changed. Obviously, Chai Feng intended to ask for help before he died, but he was a step late and was killed by Lin Sun. Lin Sun narrowed his eyes and began to count the spoils as if nothing had happened. 6 holy treasures of different quality were thrown to Wu Kei in the insignificant bow by Lin Sun. A pile of bottles and jars of pills, dozens of divine medicines and divine materials, as well as 360,000 Tao crystals. The total value was amazing. It could be seen how rich a Saint King was. Lin Sun worked hard in the Union Treasure Tower for half a day and only earned more than 400,000 crystals. However, in comparison, fighting and killing were the fastest way to earn money. It was a profitable business with little capital. Let's go. Before long, Lin Sun drove the vast universe arc and flew away. He didn't worry about the revenge of Yunyan Chi sect. Yunyan Chi sect. Whoosh! A distressed talisman turned into a rainbow and flew into the sect. Headmaster, it's bad. Elders Wei Chong and Chai Feng are asking for help. Panic cries sounded outside the hall. Soon, Lan Tianyu, the headmaster, took a group of people out of the sect at full speed and soon arrived at the place where the battle broke out. But they were a step late. Lin Sun had already left. Dead, Lan Tianyu looked around and found the bodies of Wei Chong and Chai Feng. His heart sank and his face became ugly. It's impossible. Lan Tsai, who came with them, cried out, "It's just a great sage. How could the two uncles be in danger? What the hell is going on?" Lan Tianyu asked with a livid face. Although the Cloudy Rock Chi sect was a famous first-rate force in the Great Yu realm, they did not have many king saints. But now they had lost two of them at once. How could Lan Tianyu not be angry? His heart was bleeding. Lan Tsai's pretty face turned pale. She didn't dare to hide anything anymore and told everything about Lin Sun. Idiot! That's a Tao pattern grandmaster that's even more powerful than Master Amo. How can anyone offend him? Blue Sky Yu was enraged, and his eyes were terrifying. Lan Kai shuddered and felt uneasy. Sect Master, things have already happened. The murderer must not have escaped far. The most important thing now is to chase after the enemy. An old man said solemnly. The others also nodded, their killing intent surging. This was the territory of the Cloud Rock Energy sect, and yet two of their Sage King elders had been killed. Not only was it a huge loss, but it was also a huge humiliation. If word of this got out, it would be a huge blow to the sect's reputation. Taking a deep breath, Lan Tianyu made a decision. Send out the order. Have the elders overseeing the outside cooperate with us. Put out an arrest warrant for this person. Yes. The crowd hurriedly took the order and left. When the crowd dispersed, Lan Tianyu let out a long sigh. He knew that it was too late to launch an all-out attack. How could a Tao pattern grandmaster who could kill a Sage King be so easily wanted? Lan Tianyu didn't need to guess to know that the chance of catching and killing the murderer was doomed to be slim. Lan Kai gritted her teeth and said, "Father, this happened because of me. I'm willing to take all the responsibility." Slap. Lan Tianyu slapped his daughter's face and said with a gloomy look, "I've spoiled you too much these years. When you go back, go to the forbidden area of the back mountain. You can't go out without my permission." Lan Tsai's cheeks were red and swollen, and her lips were bleeding. But she knew that her father did this to protect her. If it was really investigated, she would be punished more severely. She said in a low voice, "Father, I must tell Yinzheng about this and let him prepare in advance." Lan Tianyu's expression changed. Finally, he nodded and agreed. As Lan Tianyu predicted, Lin Sun really planned to leave. It was not easy to be caught in this vast world. One day later, Lin Sun left the territory of Yunyan Energy Sect without any mishap. Following the directions of Yu Yunhe, he rushed to Jiahua Divine Mountain, where the Yu family was located. At the same time, in Yunyan City, the news that a mysterious Tao pattern grandmaster defeated Master Imo quickly spread and caused a sensation. The identity of this Tao-marking grandmaster with the surname Lin had become a topic that everyone took delight in discussing. At the same time, the news that two elders of the Sage King realm were injured and killed in Yunyan Energy Sect also spread like a storm, causing a great disturbance. But only a few people knew that the murderer who caused this incident was the mysterious Tao pattern grandmaster who caused a sensation in the whole city. The Cloud Rock Energy Sect was furious, but there was nothing they could do about it. The culprit had long since fled, so what could they do? And because of Lan Kai, Lan Tianyu's position as the headmaster was also shaken. Both father and daughter were criticized. It should be known that a top sect like Union Energy Sect was not decided by Lan Tianyu alone. After learning this news, Lan Kai regretted it so much that her intestines turned green. If she had known this earlier, she would rather swallow her anger than offend Lin's son. Unfortunately, it was too late to regret. The evil result now was the price she had to pay for it. Juhua Divine Mountain. It was a famous spiritual mountain in the Great Yu realm. The Yu clan, an imperial family, had been living there for generations. What? I just got home, and Sai sent me a letter? She cares about me. Let me have a look. In a magnificent palace, Yu Yunzheng said with a smile. He regarded the engagement with Lan Kai as the wisest decision he had made in his life. Lan Kai was not only beautiful and intelligent, but also had a father who was in charge of a Taoist orthodoxy. This was a great help for Yu Yunzheng. It was enough for him to have a great say in the competition for the position of the young patriarch. Young master, please have a look. An old man handed over a letter respectfully. After opening it, the smile on Yu Yunjing's face suddenly froze, and his pupils dilated. He was so shocked that he almost jumped out of his chair. 2 Saint Kings of Yunyan Energy Sect were killed by that boy surnamed Lin. Yu Yunjing's mind was in turmoil, and his face became gloomy. If he was not sure that this letter was written by Lan Kai herself, he almost couldn't believe it was true. After a long time, Yu Yunzheng calmed down a little and fell into meditation. It's not good. Yu Yunhe, this fool, now has such a powerful person to help him. Once he returns to the clan, it will not be so easy to take away the inheritance of a young patriarch from him. What Sai said in the letter is right. The urgent thing now is to unite the power of others to deal with Yu Yunhe first, so that the inheritance of the young patriarch will not fall into his hands. Thinking of this, Yu Yunzheng gritted his teeth and made a decision. Sent a message to Yu Yunk, Yu Yunxing, Yu Yunlong. He reported more than 10 names in one breath. Ask them to come quickly. Tell them that I have something important to discuss with them. They must be there. The old man hurriedly received the order and left. After the time for an incense stick to burn, more than 10 men and women had gathered in this magnificent hall. All of them were dressed in embroidered clothes and had extraordinary appearances. These were all the top figures of the younger generation of the Yu clan, and every single one of them could be called a dragon or phoenix among men. But to Yu Yunzheng, these brothers and sisters present here were strong opponents for him to fight for the inheritance of the young patriarch. Now that everyone is here, third brother, you should say what's the important matter, right? A woman in a fiery red dress couldn't help but say. Her name was Yu Yunyan, and she was ranked 5th in the younger generation. Yes, third brother, everyone's time is precious. If you have something to say, just say it. Someone said impatiently. He was sitting in a coiled posture, and his brows were wide. His gaze was like lightning, and he was extremely ferocious. His name was Yu Yunlong, and he was ranked 2nd. Yu Yunjing forcefully endured the discomfort in his heart and said coldly, Big brother hasn't arrived yet. Everyone, please calm down. Big brother? Everyone's eyes flickered. In the younger generation of the Yu clan, Yu Yunfeng was ranked 1st, and he was an influential figure with the most prestige and resources in the younger generation. However, he was born from a female concubine by his father's side, so his status couldn't compare to some of the direct descendants present here. Sorry, I'm late. It wasn't long before Yu Yunfeng arrived hastily in the hall. His figure was tall and dignified, and he had a resolute appearance and an oppressive, imposing aura. Everyone sat there without moving. Yu Yunfeng smiled indifferently, and then he found a seat and sat down. Now, third brother, you ought to tell us what's the matter, right? Said Yu Yunlong. The others looked at Yu Yunzheng as well. Everyone, the clan competition will begin in less than 10 days, and everyone is surely preparing for it with all their might. But there's something that all of you probably don't know. Yu Yunzheng took a deep breath and said in a low voice, Our 6th brother has an extraordinary doubt-marking grandmaster by his side. Moreover, he's rushing back to the clan right now. If nothing unexpected happens, he'll surely participate in the clan competition. Everyone was astounded. Someone couldn't help but laugh with ridicule. That idiot actually has the guts to participate? Then let him come, so long as he's not afraid of being beaten. Many people roared with laughter. Who in the entire clan didn't know Yu Yuna's background? He was a piece of trash that couldn't be of great use, and he was rotten on the inside. Only the eldest brother, Yu Yunfeng, frowned. This was within the clan. Yet these brothers were acting in an unbridled manner and directly calling Yu Yunha an idiot. This was undoubtedly going too far. However, he was clearly aware in his heart that sixth brother Yu Yunha was indeed too much of a profligate disciple. In these past few years, he'd disappointed the patriarch countless times, and he was on the verge of breaking his heart. Everyone, Yu Yunjing knocked on the table and said coldly, "I'm not afraid to tell all of you that the helper by sixth brother's side just killed 2 Saint Kings." As soon as these words were spoken, everyone went silent, and everyone was shocked. Chapter 1882. Yu Yunjing didn't conceal anything and spoke of everything that had occurred in Cloud Rock City. For a time, the hall became even more silent. Everyone had a variety of expressions. Some were surprised, some were vigilant, some were bewildered. Even Yu Yunfeng couldn't help but be stunned. Could it be that sixth brother has turned over a new leaf and realized that the situation he's in is bad? After a short while, someone sneered, "He's just an outsider. No matter how formidable he is, could he possibly participate in our Yu clan's sect competition?" Yu Yunjing said with an expressionless face, "Don't forget that sixth brother is the patriarch's son. So long as he participates in the sect competition, then no matter what his results are, he'll have the qualifications to enter the Diyu secret realm. Moreover, that fellow that all of you take to be an outsider is an existence that even Master Mo admires wholeheartedly in terms of attainments and spirit markings. With his help, the energy of the Tao restriction left behind by our first ancestor in the Diyu secret realm isn't a problem for sixth brother at all." The atmosphere in the surroundings became oppressive. In less than 10 days, the sect grand competition would begin. However, it just so happened that an idiot whom they thought would never have the guts to participate in the sect grand competition had unexpectedly decided to participate at such a time. Moreover, he'd brought along a formidable external assistance. How could anyone not be vigilant? Indeed, all of them present here were invisible competitors with each other. But Yu Yunha was different. He was the son of the patriarch, possessed a pure bloodline, and possessed a special status. If it wasn't for his performance being too terrible in these past few years, the position of junior patriarch would have been obtained by him a long time ago, and it wouldn't have remained empty until now. Suddenly, someone said, "Could it be that third brother has a plan since the beginning by telling us all of this?" Just these words caused everyone present here to look at Yu Yunjing. Yu Yunjing's expression was calm as he said, "Sixth brother is nothing to worry about, but that external assistance by his side is an enormous potential threat to all of us here. What do all of you think?" Many people nodded. Yu Yunjing spoke of his true intentions when he heard this, "So, I gathered all of you here this time because I only want to do a single thing, and that is to join forces with all of us to eliminate this external assistance by sixth brother's side." Many people's eyes narrowed. Yu Yunjing's voice was low. "So long as we kill this person, it's equivalent to cutting off sixth brother's greatest reliance. With his ability, he's bound to be unable to compete with us even if he participates in the Grand Sect competition in the Diyu secret realm in the future. Third brother isn't doing this a bit overboard?" Yu Yunfeng said with a frown. Yu Yunjing said indifferently, "Big brother, we're dealing with an outsider and not sixth brother. I hope you can distinguish this clearly." "That's right, big brother. He's just an outsider, yet he dares to interfere in the affairs of our clan. He's simply courting death." The others also chimed in. Yu Yunjing instantly smiled. He knew that everyone present had been persuaded. Only Yu Yunfeng sighed in his heart. 2 days later, in the azure sky, a treasured ship tore through the sky and flew away. "Brother Lin, please look. That's 9 Radiance, Divine Mountain. The founding ancestor of my Yu clan attained the Tao and became an emperor on this mountain. Since then, my Yu clan has resided here for generations." On the treasured ship, Yu Yunha pointed towards the distance and sighed with emotion. In these past few years, he'd been cultivating in the Pill Cauldron Tao sect for the sake of avoiding the internal strife between the disciples of the clan, and this was the first time he'd returned to the clan. Lin Sun raised his eyes and looked over. On the distant horizon, a majestic mountain rose steeply from the ground like a coiled dragon. Divine radiance seethed from it while auspicious rays of light suffused the air, and it was magnificent and magnificent. It's a good place indeed. Lin Sun steered the treasured ship and floated to the ground before 9 Radiance, Divine Mountain. Brother Lin, I'll report your intentions at the first possible moment when I see my father. I believe that if Ancestor Green Sun is in the clan, he'll definitely meet you. As he spoke, Yu Yunhe had already led Lin Sun and Nan Xiao towards the entrance. Stop! A figure floated up into appearance before the grand and ancient entrance. It was a young man in feathered clothes with an arrogant expression. Ninth brother? Yu Yunhe frowned. What? I haven't returned to the sect for so many years that you don't recognize your sixth brother? Huh. The young man in feathered clothes laughed. Sixth brother, everyone is very happy that you've returned. But as you know, the sect competition is about to begin. At such a critical moment, all unrelated people are prohibited from entering our clan. Yu Yunhe instantly understood that he was targeting Lin Sun, who was by his side. His expression was gloomy. Ninth brother, if you still regard me as your sixth brother, then quickly move aside. Otherwise, don't blame me for not giving you face. Hey, sixth brother, you're so mighty. You haven't returned for so many years, yet you've started to act arrogantly as soon as you've returned. Do you not respect us brothers at all? A wave of cold laughter resounded, and then Yu Yunzheng, Yu Yunlong, and the other top figures of the younger generation of the Imperial Yu clan walked out in a single file. What a great lineup. Yu Yunhe's heart sank. He'd just arrived, yet so many people had immediately appeared. They'd obviously planned this since long ago. Third brother, this was all your idea? Yu Yunhe gritted his teeth and was completely enraged. Sixth brother, ninth brother is right. We welcome your return, but our Yu clan doesn't welcome the people by your side. Yu Yunfeng, who was ranked second, said coldly. Yu Yunhe was burning with anger, and he said word by word, I want to see father and report this matter. If father also makes the same decision, then I have nothing to say. But if you make the decision on your own, I, Yu Yunhe, will not let this matter rest. There was a moment of silence. Yu Yunhe's father was the current patriarch of the Yu clan. If this matter was revealed by Yu Yunhe, the consequences would indeed be hard to predict. Sixth brother, you're simply muddle-headed. Yu Yunzheng suddenly shouted and said sternly, Don't you know that the one surnamed Lin beside you brutally killed 2 high-ranking elders of the Yunyan Chi sect a few days ago? Now, he's already wanted by the Yunyan Chi sect. Such a vicious person should be killed by everyone, yet you still intend to bring him back to the clan. It's simply unreasonable. His words were sonorous and forceful, but it would have been better if he hadn't mentioned this matter. Once it was mentioned, Yu Yunhe's eyes turned red, and he said angrily, Third brother, you're lying. It was you and that bitch Lansai who joined forces to kill me outside Yunyan City. So you asked those 2 old bastards from the Yunyan Chi sect to act. If it wasn't for Brother Lin's righteous help, I would have lost my life long ago. Everyone present was restless, and the expressions of all the Yu clan disciples changed indeterminately. Yu Yunzheng had never mentioned this matter before, and this caused them to be very surprised. One must know that the Yu clan could tolerate internal strife, but they would absolutely not tolerate things like killing each other. If what Yu Yunhe said was true, then Yu Yunzheng's actions were equivalent to touching the bottom line of the clan. Yu Yunzheng was stunned. He'd never imagined that this idiot Yu Yunhe would actually make a countercharge at a time like this, and he was so angry that he gritted his teeth. How dare you? Sixth brother, don't you dare slander me. Yu Yunzheng roared angrily. The 2 elders of the Yunyan Chi sect wanted to deal with that kid, surnamed Lin, by your side. It has nothing to do with you. Yu Yunhe sneered. Is that so? Why are you so clear about the matters of the Yunyan Chi sect? Not to mention that when I left Cloud Rock City, you saw with your own eyes that I was traveling with Brother Lin, Yet we were ambushed by those two old geezers on the way. Yet you say it's not targeting me? Who would believe that? Yu Yunzheng was speechless for a moment, and he was furious. The others were also flabbergasted. Was this still that ignorant, incompetent, and unambitious piece of trash? It should be known that in the past, Yu Yunhe was like a mouse meeting a cat when he met them, and he didn't dare to talk back to them at all. But now, not only was he not afraid at all, he even showed an unprecedentedly tough attitude, and this was completely beyond everyone's expectations. Lin Sun saw all of this, and he didn't feel surprised at all. It seemed that all of this was against him, but in fact, these Yu clan disciples were obviously using this to attack Yu Yunhe. It seems that because of my appearance, these Yu clan disciples feel threatened. Lin Sun seemed to be lost in thought. He didn't need to guess at all to know that it must be Lan Cai who spread the news to Yu Yunzheng about the killing of Wei Chong and Chai Feng. Yu Yunzheng, who sensed that something was wrong, made a prompt decision and united everyone to plan this action. Nan Xiu, follow me later, Lin Sun said to her. Nan Xiu's heart tightened, and she nodded silently. Old Six, it seems that you've been deceived by that boy surnamed Lin, and you can't even tell the truth. In this case, as your brother, I'll help you get rid of this Lin first, and then we'll have a good talk about the truth. Yu Yunjing's expression was grim, and his voice was cold. You still want to fight? Yu Yunhe was furious. Was there a need to ask? Lin Sun sighed in his heart. Yu Yunhe was still a little inexperienced, after all. How could the other party give up so easily with such a big force? Childish. Yu Yunzheng sneered, and he raised his hand and waved. Whoosh, a group of figures rushed out, men and women, and all of them had amazing auras and powerful momentum. Among them, there were many king saints. Yu Yunhe was stunned. Many of these figures were his elders, and they held different important positions in the Yu clan. It turns out that you've arranged everything. Yu Yunhe felt that his lungs were about to explode. What do these clansmen think of him as? A lamb at the mercy of others? Lin, are you going to surrender yourself? Or do you want us to do it? Yu Yunjing's cold eyes locked on Lin Sun. The others also looked unkind. Lin Sun looked indifferent, and his dark eyes were deep. He said, It seems that even if I leave, you won't agree. Yu Yunzheng said indifferently, You killed two of Tsai's elders and deceived my sixth brother. It's obvious that you have evil intentions. How can we allow a villain like you to leave? Don't talk nonsense with him. Kill him quickly. Yu Yunlong, the second eldest, said impatiently. At this moment, Lin Sun looked up at the majestic Jua, divine mountain, and suddenly smiled, but the smile was emotionless. This was the Yu clan, an imperial clan, and in front of its gate, none of the big shots of the Yu clan showed up at this moment. Did this mean that they also acquiesced and condoned what was happening in front of them? If you want to fight, you'll have to step over me first. It was also at this moment that Yu Yunhe, who was furious, roared and stood in front of Lin Sun without hesitation. Chapter 1883. Lin Sun had the token given by Green Sun Saber Emperor, but it was useless. Yu Yunhe was the son of the patriarch of Yu clan, but he failed to stop Yu Yunzheng and others. A token was doomed to be useless. Originally, Lin Sun came to Yu clan to meet his old friend, Green Sun Saber Emperor, and learn something. But it was obvious that it was impossible for him to leave now. The only thing that surprised Lin Sun was that Yu Yunhe did not hesitate to stand in front of him at this critical moment. This touched Lin Sun's heart. At the same time, Yu Yunzheng and others were also caught off guard. What was wrong with Yu Yunhe today? Why did he want to die for an outsider? The scene was in a stalemate for a while. Brother Lin, I believe my father will not tolerate such a thing if he knows it. Yu Yunhe said with guilt. He thought it was he who implicated Lin Sun. Your father and others. Lin Sun's black eyes flickered. Maybe, child Yu, I was just like you at that time. I inherited the power of the clan and was surrounded by many collateral clansmen. Many people even wanted to kill me. Do you know what I did? Yu Yunhe was stunned. Without waiting for an answer, Lin Sun said, Kill. It's not enough to establish power and sweep away obstacles. Yu Yunhe sucked in a breath of cold air, his expression fluctuating. Lin Sun looked calm. Of course, your Yu clan forbids killing each other. Now, there are only two ways to choose. Which two? Yu Yunhe couldn't help asking. Give up the right of inheritance and leave now. Lin Sun said. Hearing this, Yu Yunzheng and others all showed different expressions. If so, they really didn't have to make great efforts to target Yu Yunhe. At this time, Yu Yunhe's face was gloomy and he was struggling in his heart. After a long time, he took a deep breath and said, "These years, I have been regarded as an idiot and a waste. I have suffered too much humiliation and criticism. I don't want to taste it again." In the end, he revealed a determined expression. He looked at Yu Yunzheng and the others and said while clenching his teeth, "Look at these people. They are all my clansmen, but they don't respect me at all. They even want to stop me from entering the sect." His voice was filled with boundless anger. "If I let them become the young clan leader, I will never forgive myself." The faces of Yu Yunzheng and the others darkened. Lin Sun smiled and said, "Then there's only one way left." He waved his sleeve. Yu Yunhe, who was in front of him, was pulled to the side by an irresistible force. Brother Lin, Yu Yunhe was stunned. "Can't you tell? They'll absolutely not allow a villain like me to leave. Since it's like this, then I'll seize this opportunity to help you sweep away some obstacles." In the end, Lin Sun smiled and said, "Take care of Nanxiu for me." Shameless boasting. "Attack!" Yu Yunzheng sneered as he barked out orders. Boom! The experts of the Yu clan, who had been waiting for this moment, acted without hesitation. Kill! Kill this brat! Thunderous roars resounded in all directions. These experts of the Yu clan were obviously carefully arranged by Yu Yunzheng and the others. They were led by 9 king saints and a group of peerless great saints. As soon as they attacked, heaven and earth shook, and the sun and moon dimmed. Third brother, why do I feel that we've set up such a large formation just to deal with a peerless great saint? Isn't it a little overkill? Yu Yunlong couldn't help asking. We'll finish it all in one go. We can't afford any mistakes. Yu Yunzheng said expressionlessly. Don't forget that this brat has killed 2 king saints of the Yunyanqi sect. We can't underestimate him. The experts of the Yu clan who attacked this time were their respective supporters. In fact, in an ancient clan like the Yu clan, every top disciple would have their own subsidiary forces. It was by relying on these subsidiary forces that they had the foundation to fight for the power of the clan. For example, Yu Yunzheng had many supporters in the clan. In order to further expand his strength, he even married Lan Cai and found a powerful external aid. The purpose of all this was to fight for the right to inherit the position of junior patriarch. The other disciples present were the same. Yu Yunyan, who was dressed in a fiery red dress, snorted coldly. I want to see how a peerless great saint like him can kill a king saint. Until now, she still didn't believe that such an absurd thing could happen in this world. There were many who thought the same as her. While they were talking, the battle had already erupted. Boom! Divine radiance burst out, and treasure light rained down. How terrifying was the scene of a group of king saints attacking. The power of the laws of domains interweaved and transformed into an unparalleled phenomenon. It was dazzling, and it drowned the entire world. If it was any other peerless great saint, they would have been scared out of their wits. But at this moment, Lin Sun advanced instead of retreating and took the initiative to meet them. His figure was ethereal, and Tao light flowed around him. He held the Avicii sword and the Yuan killer sword in each hand, and the aura in his body was like a boiling cauldron of chaos, rumbling endlessly. Even when fighting against Ma Taijin, Lin Sun didn't use any treasures and suppressed the other party with his strength. Even when killing 2 king saints, Wei Chong and Chai Feng, Lin Sun only used the broken blade and ended the battle in an instant. It was obvious that Lin Sun, who used the Avicii sword and the Yuan killer sword, didn't intend to hold back from the beginning. Slash! A silver Dao sword swept over, deducing the power of the laws of domains. It was like a curtain falling from the sky, and the sword chi was dense and sonorous. Lin Sun swung the sword, and the Avicii sword was like a reflection of hell. Amidst the deafening sound of collision, it tore the curtain of sword chi in the sky. Clang! The silver Tao sword was sent flying and exploded in the void. One of the king's saints controlling the sword coughed up blood and revealed a shocked expression. But before he could dodge, the Avicii sword seemed to have opened the door to hell and enveloped him. Poof! A rain of blood splashed like a waterfall. The king's saints of the Yu clan died suddenly. After being swept by the Avicii sword, his body directly turned into ashes and disappeared. There was a commotion in the field, and many exclamations sounded. The Yu clan's descendants, who were originally extremely skeptical of Lin Sun's combat power, widened their eyes at this moment, and their bodies stiffened. Killing a king saint with one strike? Yu Yunjin couldn't help but gasp. He hadn't seen the scene of Lin Sun killing Wei Chong and Chai Feng with his own eyes, and he was originally skeptical. But now, it seemed that everything was true. This guy who came out of nowhere actually had the heaven-defying power to kill a king's saint of a higher realm. Boom! In the field, the battle was still breaking out. Lin Sun held the sword with both hands and moved freely in the battlefield. His sword chi covered the sky, and he was invincible. Poof! 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 Onto the unparalleled sword edge, those who were only at the peak of the great saint realm were killed on the spot like chickens and dogs. Heads rolled off, and scarlet blood splashed. Those bloody scenes were simply world-shocking. No! Just a moment later, another king's saint let out a shrill scream of horror, and then his whole body was cut in half. That horrifying state of death caused people to shudder with fear. How is this possible? Hee, damn it. In front of the mountain gate, Yu Yunzheng, Yu Yunlong, and other descendants of the clan could no longer keep calm, and their faces changed completely. Originally, they thought that it was a bit of fuss to make such a big fuss to deal with a great saint like Lin Sun. But now, they deeply understood the horror of Lin Sun. A great saint who could fight against a king saint of a higher realm was already shocking. But in Lin Sun's hands, not only did he fight against a king saint of a higher realm, but even the king saints who had mastered the power of the field of Tao were easily killed by him. The heaven-defying killing scene was simply a great horror, shrouding the hearts of Yu Yunzheng and others. Their bodies trembled, and they were dumbfounded. Unexpectedly, they really didn't expect it. Heaven and earth shook, and blood covered the field like rain. Shrill, terrified, and desperate cries sounded one after another. At this moment, Lin Sun was invincible, and his peerless demeanor became the only thing in the world. Yu Yunha's lips trembled, and he opened his mouth to speak. Nan Xiu said faintly, "In our tribe, there's a saying that has been passed down for a long time. On the road to supreme power, there must be a curtain of blood and corpses. Brother Lin is helping you. If you stop him now, it will only chill his heart." Yu Yunha was stunned, and he remained silent. Boom! In the field, there was a shocking commotion. The heart protection mirror in front of a king saint was smashed, and his entire body was crushed into pieces by the unparalleled sword chi. It had only been a moment since the battle started, but this was already the fifth king saint to be killed. Yu Yunzheng and the others had completely lost their composure, and their emotions were out of control. They were like a group of ants on a hot pot, panic-stricken and at a loss. This was the gate of their Yu clan. But now, there was endless blood, and a bloody massacre was happening. Quick, go, and invite the big shots of the clan. Yu Yunzheng roared. The current situation had already reached an extremely severe state. If they didn't stop it, then even if they could survive in the end, they were bound to suffer unimaginably terrible consequences. But in next to no time, someone sent back a message in panic. Not good. The clan guarding formation in the mountain has been activated by someone, and we can't send any news back to the clan at all. What? This was simply like a bolt out of the blue, and Yu Yunzheng and the others were dumbfounded. How could this be? Why was the clan guarding formation activated and unable to send any news? Boom! In the distance, the bloody battle was still going on. However, the number of enemies besieging Lin Sun had already started to decrease. The ground was covered in pools of blood, and countless corpses lay on the ground. Quick, retreat to the sect. I don't believe that those big shots of the clan will watch as we're killed by an external enemy. Yu Yinzheng roared with rage. As he spoke, he was the first to retreat. The others were already terrified to the point they were out of their wits, and they retreated hurriedly when they saw this. Even Lin Sun's opponents panicked. They retreated and fled in panic, not daring to fight head-on at all. Should I chase after them? Lin Sun's gaze was deep as he turned back to look at Yu Yunhe in the distance. Beneath his feet, blood flowed like a river, and corpses were piled up. Scarlet beads of blood flowed down the Avici in Yuandu's swords. He was like a fiend god that dominated the world. Thanks to Ungrateful Rabbit, Jia, W83127W, and the others for their donations and support. Chapter 1884. Yu Yunhe's heart trembled in the face of Lin Sun's gaze. He gazed at the blood that covered the ground, gritted his teeth, and said, "Brother Lin, you were the one who fought for this opportunity for me. I swear that no matter what happens today, I'll use my life to protect Brother Lin." His voice was resolute. "Let's go." Lin Sun flashed towards the mountain gate in the distance without looking back. On Jihua Divine Mountain, a huge light screen appeared in front of a huge platform enshrouded in mist, and it reflected the scenes that happened outside the mountain gate. "Patriarch, why did you activate the clan protection restriction? Those juniors are still at the foot of the mountain." "Patriarch." On the platform, all the big shots of the Yu clan gathered. All of them were restless and furious. The bloody massacre outside the mountain gate had stimulated their eyes to the point of redness. "Why didn't you stop those juniors from ambushing outside the mountain gate?" Yu Bikong put his hands behind his back, and his eyes were deep as he spoke indifferently. He was tall, dressed in a green robe, and his hair was black like ink. Just by standing there casually, he had the power to oppress the world and control the mountains and rivers. He was the current patriarch of the Yu clan, Yu Yunhe's father, a dignified figure with great talent and strategy. Hearing this, all the big shots of the Yu clan were stunned. How could they have imagined that a young man who came out of nowhere would be so fierce? Yu Bikong said in a low voice, "It's the first time in all these years that my good-for-nothing son has come back, but he was stopped outside the clan by those juniors. As his father, I haven't said anything. Why can't you sit still?" An old man with white hair and beard said anxiously, "Patriarch, as you've seen, Yin Zheng and the others aren't stopping Yunhe from returning home. They're targeting that outsider." The others nodded in agreement. A trace of ridicule appeared on Yu Bikong's lips. "Everyone, don't play dumb. The sect competition is about to begin. Do you think I don't know how many dirty things you've done for the inheritance of the junior patriarch?" All of them looked a little uncomfortable. Suddenly, Yu Bikong turned around. His eyes were like lightning, and he glanced coldly at all the people present and said, "But you shouldn't be so despicable. Even if my son is a good-for-nothing, he can't be bullied like this. Otherwise, where would I put my face as a father?" His voice was like a clap of thunder, resounding through the mountain peak and the sea of clouds. A senior figure took a deep breath and said, "Clan leader, regarding the matter of Yunhe, everyone did something wrong. We will give you an explanation for this." After a pause, he continued, "The problem we need to solve now is that an outsider has cruelly killed so many of our clansmen in front of our mountain gate. How can we tolerate this?" Other big shots also nodded. They gritted their teeth in hatred and were eager to kill Lin Sun. "Do you know why I activated the protective array?" Yu Bikong suddenly said. Everyone was stunned, and someone couldn't help but ask, "Patriarch, don't tell me you think that an outsider can threaten our clan?" "No, I just don't want you to interfere." Yu Bikong's expression was cold. "Even if Yunhe hadn't brought this person back, I would have personally eliminated all these idiots who died outside the sect before the grand competition, so that they wouldn't commit any more despicable and shameless acts." His words were like a piercingly cold knife, piercing to the bone. All the big shots present felt a chill run down their spines. Only now did they realize that Yu Bikong had raised his butcher's knife a long time ago. However, the appearance of an outsider had imperceptibly helped him eliminate some of his targets before it fell. "All of you must be dissatisfied in your hearts. You think a good-for-nothing like my son is not qualified to compete for the position of young patriarch. Yu Bikong looked at the enormous light screen again. In a light screen, Yu Yunha and Lin Sun were walking up the stairs together and chasing after those opponents. No one noticed that a wisp of rare gratification appeared in the depths of Yu Bikong's eyes when he saw this scene. Unfortunately, all of you never knew that Yunhe never intended to become the junior clan leader. He didn't like fighting with the younger generation in the sect. Yet, all of you treated him as a thorn in your side, a thorn in your flesh, and used every method at your disposal to smear his name. Yu Bikong's voice carried a sense of loss. Do you think an ignorant, incompetent, domineering, and profligate person can become the first expert in the younger generation to step foot into the great saint realm? His voice drifted through the surroundings while the atmosphere was deathly silent, and the expressions of everyone changed indeterminately. All of this was forced upon me by all of you. Yu Bikong's voice was icy cold. But I have to thank all of you instead. If all of you didn't bitterly force him all these years, this child, Yunhe, would probably not have returned to the clan at all to participate in the sect competition this time. The expressions of everyone became even more unsightly. Bikong, many people have died today. It's time to end all of this. Suddenly, a muddy and aged voice resounded. The spirits of everyone was refreshed. Ancestor Snow Forest. A thin and bony figure appeared out of thin air. He wore a gray robe, had sunken eye sockets, and seemed to be extremely inconspicuous. But everyone present here bowed in greeting. Yu Xuelin, an ancestor of the imperial clan, the Yu clan, had lived in seclusion for many years, and according to seniority, Yu Bikong had to address him as patriarch. Yu Bikong frowned and went silent for a moment before he said, "All right." He gave the order, and it wasn't long before the clan guarding grand formation that covered 9 Radiance Mountain was removed. This caused everyone present here to heave sighs of relief. Third brother, go bring Yunhe and the others over. Yu Bikong instructed. Okay. A middle-aged man in a brocade robe stood out and moved away out of thin air. On the mountain path, Yu Yunzheng and the others showed despair on their faces, and they all panicked. Sixth brother, do you really want to kill all of us? Someone roared. In the distance, Yu Yunha, who stood side by side with Lin Sun, looked indifferent and said, "You asked for it." Lin Sun was just about to take action. Clatter, the clan guarding grand formation that covered the mountain path, suddenly produced a violent fluctuation and then disappeared into nothingness. We're saved. Let's go. Yu Yunzheng and the others were so excited that they almost burst into tears and fled in panic, as if they had been saved from a desperate situation. Yunha, ask your friend to stop. At the same time as the grand formation disappeared, a burly figure moved to them out of thin air. Third uncle? Yu Yunha was stunned. The burly figure was his third uncle, Yu Biyuan, who had the best relationship with his father. Yu Biyuan laughed in a deep voice and said, "Your father and I have seen what happened. You did a good job." As he said, he looked at Lin Sun with a strange expression on his face and said, "My little friend, do you have the courage to go with me?" Lin Sun raised his eyebrows and said, "This is not a dragon's pool or a tiger's den. Why should I measure it with courage?" Yu Biyuan laughed and said, "Yunha, you have made a good friend. Let's go. Don't let your father wait too long." Immediately, he turned around and led the way. At the same time, Yu Yunha transmitted his voice to Lin Sun. "Brother Lin, you can rest assured that I, Yu Yunha, will protect you even if I die." Lin Sun smiled and didn't say anything. Soon, a group of people appeared on a huge platform at the top of the mountain, where Yu Bikong and the big shots of Yu family were waiting. Yu Yunzheng, Yu Yunlong, and others were also there, but when they saw Lin Sun, they all gnashed their teeth with hatred. "Elders, it is this guy who cruelly killed many of our clansmen in front of the mountain gate." Many people cried out, "Don't worry. I believe the patriarch will give you a satisfactory explanation." An old man said coldly, "Father." Yu Yunha looked at Yu Bikong and was about to say something. Yu Bikong said with relief, "It's good that you're back. I saw what happened before. I won't let you be wronged as long as I'm here." Yu Yuna's heart was filled with warmth, and he agreed. Let's not talk about Yuna's grievances for the time being. Patriarch, the murderer is right in front of us. How are you going to deal with him? A big shot stood out with a gloomy look. Before Yu Bikong spoke, someone else said, Of course, kill him. His hands are stained with the blood of our clansmen. We can't vent our hatred if we don't kill him. Yes, if we let him live, how will our peers in the Dayu world think of us in the future? The other big shots of Yu family also spoke. They hated Lin's son to the core. They thought that if it weren't for his appearance, Yu Yunhe, good for nothing, wouldn't be a threat at all, and such a bloody accident wouldn't have happened. For a moment, Lin's son seemed to have become the target of public criticism. He looked calm and turned a blind eye to it. He didn't panic at all. From the moment he took action, he had already guessed that it would be like this. Father, if it weren't for Brother Lin, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to return to the clan at all. If he suffers because of this, I won't agree. Yu Yunhe was anxious and shouted out loud. Yunhe, your friend killed our clansman, and you still want to defend him? How dare you? Someone scolded. Yu Bikong pointed at Lin's son calmly and said indifferently, This lad was ordered by me to take this opportunity to eradicate some scum in our clan. If you want to blame someone, just come to me. Yu Yunhe was stunned and immediately understood. He was ecstatic, knowing that his father was helping Lin's son. Lin's son couldn't help being stunned and sighed inwardly. If Yu Yunhe had a third of his father's means, he wouldn't have been reduced to such a situation. However, after hearing Yu Bikong's words, everyone present looked gloomy. They were not stupid. How could they not see that Yu Bikong was obviously going to protect Lin's son? Under such circumstances, they couldn't refute even if they wanted to. Lin's son did kill a lot of people, but he was ordered by Yu Bikong. Who could say anything? Unless they dared to go against Yu Bikong, the patriarch of Yu family. For a moment, these big shots of Yu family were about to explode with anger and were extremely depressed. They didn't expect that Yu Bikong would play such a trick. Even Yu Yunzheng and the other juniors were dumbfounded. The patriarch wanted to use an outsider to eradicate them? Scum? How did they become scum? With just a little thought, they knew that this was definitely not true, but also made them realize that the patriarch was determined to protect Lin Sun this time. Chapter 1885. Yu Bikong spoke casually, yet the ability she revealed could be said to be able to summon clouds and rain with a flip of her hand. For a time, everyone was speechless. But right at this moment, Yu Xuelin, the ancestor of the Yu clan, grunted coldly. Nonsense! You're a dignified patriarch, yet you're protecting an enemy who killed my clansmen. How can you convince everyone? Ancestor, you're right. Those great figures were refreshed, and they seized the opportunity to speak. If this matter ends here, all of us will be dissatisfied. Dissatisfied? Yu Bikong glanced at everyone, and he lightly spat out 2 words, hold it in. Everyone's faces fell, and they were furious. Yu Bikong's expression was indifferent. Now, I'm still the patriarch of the Yu clan, so I naturally have the final say in all matters of the clan. How dare you? Yu Xuelin was furious. How could he not realize that Yu Bikong was beating him up? Bikong, are you really going to act willfully? He took a deep breath, and his expression was gloomy. The atmosphere suddenly became tense and extremely oppressive at this moment. Yu Yunhe couldn't help but worry in his heart. Facing the attack of so many great figures of the clan, it was obvious how great the pressure his father was under was. At this moment, Yu Bikong's brows gradually furrowed, and he said in a low voice, Uncle, are you questioning my ability as the patriarch? Good. Yu Xuelin was livid with anger. Everyone, all of you have seen how stupid Bikong is. I suggest that he be stripped of his position as patriarch. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone present was shocked. The eyes of all the great figures of the Yu clan flickered. Some were surprised, some were excited, and some were gloating. Even Lin's son didn't expect this old fellow to be so ruthless. Yu Bikong's expression was indifferent. You want to strip me of my position as patriarch? It's simple. As long as more than half of the 13 uncles agree, I, Yu Bikong, will immediately resign from my position as patriarch. Bikong, this is what you said. Yu Shualin suddenly revealed a wisp of a mysterious smile. Yu Bikong's expression remained unchanged, but his heart suddenly trembled, and a wisp of a bad premonition surged in his heart. Could it be that this old fellow had planned this? As expected, the next moment, Yu Shualin's thunderous voice sounded. Everyone, you've all seen Jade Sky's previous performance. Now, please make your stance. Her words shocked everyone present. As long as one wasn't an idiot, they would be able to realize that Yu Shualin had obviously planned this. The great figures present here had various expressions, and they were swiftly calculating in their hearts. Everything had happened too suddenly. No one had expected that Yu Shualin would seize the opportunity to make things difficult for an outsider. She wanted to seize the opportunity to usurp Yu Bikong's position as clan leader. This was too shocking, simply about to change the heavens. Jade Sky, you have disappointed us. I agree with Snow Forest's suggestion. A divine rainbow appeared out of thin air and transformed into a short and fat old man. I agree. I agree. After that, figure after figure appeared successively, and all of them were ancestors of the Yu clan that lived in seclusion. For a time, the atmosphere in the surroundings grew even more oppressive, and the air seemed as if it had frozen. Yu Yunha's expression changed starkly, and his limbs turned cold as he yelled in his heart. This is a well-prepared plot. It's a trap. Lin Sun watched all this coldly from the sidelines, and he sighed with emotion in his heart. The scene before him was simply like the changing of the world, and he just happened to be there at the right time and inadvertently acted as a catalyst. I agree as well. When a seventh ancestor-level figure of the Yu clan appeared and expressed his agreement, the atmosphere was like a volcano that had been suppressed for a long time, and it erupted completely. Someone couldn't restrain the joy in his heart and laughed loudly. Ha! Yu Bikong, you're finished. From now on, you're no longer the clan leader. According to the rules, as long as more than half of the 13 elders of the clan agreed, Yu Bikong would lose his position as clan leader. But now, such a thing had happened. The crowd was restless. All the great figures of the Yu clan had different expressions. Some were in disbelief, some were overjoyed, and some were gloating. Yu Bikong, you lost your position as clan leader for an insignificant outsider. Alas, why did you do that? Someone sneered. Even Yu Yunzheng and the other juniors felt as if they were dreaming at this moment. He took the position of clan leader, just like that. As expected, the older, the wiser. This is a plot. Yu Yunha roared with rage. Yu Bikong patted him on the shoulder and said, keep calm every time something big happens. Yunha, the situation isn't settled, so don't be flustered. Father, Yu Yunha's eyes turned red. He felt that all of this had arisen because of him, and it caused him to feel extremely guilty. Bikong, what else do you have to say now? Yu Shualin's expression was dignified, while a wisp of pride could be seen between his brows. This shapeless competition had come to an end at this moment, and he, Yu Shualin, was the final winner. Yu Bikong sighed lightly. I just never expected that all of you would actually participate in such a dirty thing. Looks like not only are all of you unable to tolerate my son fighting for the position of junior patriarch, all of you are obviously unwilling to let me, Yu Bikong, assume the position of patriarch. Yu Bun and the others nearby were anxious. They were Yu Bikong's most capable assistants, and they were furious when they saw him suddenly suffer calamity. Haha, it's not too late to talk about your problem later. Now it's time to deal with this outsider. Yu Shualin started laughing as he looked at Lin Sun in the distance. All the others present also looked at him with a cold look. Now, how could this young man, who had lost the protection of Yu Bikong, survive? Yu Yunzheng and the others even clamored, Old ancestor, kill him. How dare you? Yu Yunha rushed out, his eyes red as if he had gone mad. If you want to deal with my friend, kill me first. However, his actions seemed very weak and ridiculous in the eyes of others. The current situation was so clear. What kind of storm could Yu Yunha, who had lost his power, set off? Yunha, you can't escape the blame for what happened today. After I kill this bastard, I'll settle accounts with you and your father. Yu Shualin waved his sleeves. Boom! A terrible force swept over and shrouded Lin Sun in the distance. The quasi-emperor realm. Lin Sun's black eyes narrowed, but he still looked calm. He didn't even move and just watched quietly. Crack! A crisp sound of slap rang out. Lin Sun stood where he was, unscathed. But opposite him, Yu Shulin was slapped hard by an invisible hand. His old face was red and swollen, and his hair was disheveled. His figure staggered and almost fell to the ground. It was obvious how great the force behind that slap was. All the people present were stunned and dumbfounded. What was going on? An old ancestor of the dignified Yu family, a famous quasi-emperor in the great Yu world a long time ago, was slapped in the face when he made a move. Those big shots who were excited and waiting to watch a good show all sucked in a breath of cold air, their expressions changing greatly. Who did it? The rest of the progenitor-level cultivators were also shocked, and their pupils contracted. This Yu Yunhe, who was anxious and almost crazy, was dumbfounded and couldn't believe it. Only Yu Bikong remained unperturbed. He seemed to have expected this since the beginning, but unusual fluctuations still arose in his eyes. Which bastard dares to sneak up on me? Yu Shulin was furious. He was slapped in the face under the watchful eyes of the crowd. If this was spread out, he would be ashamed to death. Crack! Before he finished speaking, Yu Shulin was slapped again. Blood spurted from his mouth and nose, and several of his teeth fell off. He groaned in pain. This time, the people present were not shocked, but horrified. It was too scary to slap a quasi-emperor in the face without anyone noticing. Who on earth is it? Yu Shulin was furious and was about to go crazy. His old face was red and swollen like a pig's head, and he looked miserable. Swish, swish, swish. The other old ancestors present all took action and stood in front of Yu Shulin, bewildered. This was the territory of the Yu family, an imperial family, and they had lived here for generations. But at this time, such a horrifying thing happened, which made them feel a little scared. As for the others present, they were completely dumbfounded and shocked, and their hair stood on end. What a disgrace! What a disgrace! In the silence, a deep and strong voice sounded. Every word was like a clap of thunder, shaking many people to the point of seeing stars and coughing up blood. When this voice fell into the ears of the old ancestors, they felt as if they had suffered the most terrifying suppression in the world. They didn't have time to struggle at all. A terrifying and boundless force enveloped their bodies, making the 7 old ancestors, including Yu Shulin, kneel on the ground. The whole place was silent. Everyone opened their eyes wide and stood there in a daze. At this moment, there was a ripple in the void, and the figure of an old man in a Taoist robe appeared out of thin air. His hair and beard were pitch black, and his eyes were clear. His figure was like an illusion, and he gave people a feeling of infinitely lofty. Everyone held their breath. In the face of this old man in a Taoist robe, they felt as small as ants. It was as if he was the only supreme ruler between heaven and earth. My little friend, I didn't expect that this reunion would be a joke. As soon as the old man in a Taoist robe appeared, he looked at Lin Sun in the distance with a wry smile. Some of the big shots present had already guessed the identity of the old man in a Taoist robe. At this moment, their bodies were stiff and their hearts were in turmoil. Lin Sun smiled and said, "Senior, I didn't expect this to happen either." The old man in a Taoist robe sighed softly. It's unfortunate that the younger generation of the Yu clan are becoming more and more incompetent. At this time, Yu Bikong had already taken a deep breath, stepped forward, bowed, and said solemnly, "This unfilial descendant, Yu Bikong, pays his respects to old ancestor Green Sun." The people present, who were originally bewildered and doubtful, all felt as if they had been struck by lightning. Old ancestor Green Sun. So the old man had returned. No wonder he could silently slap Yu Shulin in the face, and no wonder he could force the group of old ancestors to kneel on the ground. In the face of old ancestor Green Sun, Yu Shulin and the other quasi-emperors were just juniors and were simply not enough. Plop, plop. Yu Shulin and the others were so frightened that they collapsed to the ground, trembling all over. Originally, they were ashamed and furious, but at this moment, they finally realized who their opponent was, and their hearts were simply terrified to the extreme. Chapter 1886. Yu Qingyang. He was one of the most dazzling emperors in the history of the Yu clan. He had dominated the world for 8,000 years and was called Emperor Qingyang Saber. In the entire Zihang Star area, he was also a legendary figure of the Emperor realm. How could Yu Xiulin and the other clansmen of the Yu clan not know their ancestor? However, they didn't expect that ancestor Qingyang, who had disappeared for many years, would appear in the clan at this moment. Yu Yun's mouth was dry, and he was shocked. It turned out that his ancestor had really returned to the clan. He couldn't help glancing at Lin's son. No wonder Brother Lin was so calm before. You probably already knew this? Yunhe, come and greet the ancestor. Yu Bikong transmitted his voice. Yu Yunhe suddenly came to his senses, hurriedly stepped forward and knelt on the ground. Unfilial descendant Yu Yunhe greets the ancestor. Unfilial descendant Yu Biyun greets the ancestor. Unfilial descendant. For a moment, all the big shots of the Yu clan, as well as Yu Yunzheng and other juniors, knelt on the ground with excitement and uneasiness. In the field, only Lin Sun and the old man in the Taoist robe were still standing. The scene was silent and solemn for a moment. This was the demeanor of the Emperor realm. My savior has come to Jihua Divine Mountain. Not only is he regarded as a thief, but he is also persecuted by you juniors. It's really absurd. The old man's indifferent voice resounded through the field. What? That boy was the savior of ancestor Qingyang? Yu Xiulin and other 6 ancestors of the quasi-emperor realm turned pale as if they were struck by lightning. They didn't expect that Lin Sun, a peerless great saint, would have such a deep relationship with their ancestor. Yu Yunhe finally understood why Lin Sun had the token that belonged to ancestor Qingyang. It turned out that this guy had saved ancestor Qingyang. Yu Bikong and others couldn't help but gasp in shock. Ancestor, we didn't know it beforehand. Please forgive us. Yu Xiulin said sadly. Yes, if we had known that this little friend is the savior of our ancestor, we would never have dared to do such a stupid thing. Ancestor, please show mercy. The others also spoke up to exonerate themselves. The old man in the Taoist robe waved his sleeve coldly. Boom! Yu Xiulin and the other 6 quasi-emperors were instantly imprisoned. Ancestor. Yu Xiulin and the others were shocked, and their souls almost left their bodies. The expressions of the other great figures of the Yu clan changed, and they felt anxious and fearful in their hearts. For the sake of fighting for power and profit, you've caused a foul atmosphere in the clan. If I wasn't here today, the great foundation of the clan would surely be destroyed by your hands in the future. The voice of the old man in the Taoist robe was emotionless. From today onwards, all of you will be imprisoned in the Cave of 9 Nether, a forbidden area of the clan, for 1,000 years to repent and atone for your sins. Yu Xiulin and the others were on the verge of collapsing. The Cave of 9 Nether, that was the place where the sinners of the clan were imprisoned. It was filled with the 9 underworld flames. Even if one was a quasi-emperor, he or she would still suffer endless torture and suffering. We thank you for your mercy, Patriarch. After a short while, Yu Xiulin and the others spoke, and they seemed as if they'd lost their souls while their hearts were like dead ashes. Originally, this operation to usurp the power of the clan had been a success. However, because of Yu Qingyang's appearance, everything changed. The elder in Taoist robes waved his hand. Yu Xiulin and the others disappeared into thin air, teleported away, and completely suppressed. What about all of you? Do you know your sins? The elder in Taoist robes looked at the other important figures of a Yu clan present. We know our sins. We know our sins. Please show mercy, Patriarch. From the beginning until the end, we've never done anything that's wrong to the clan. The important figures of the Yu clan were completely flustered. Yu Xiulin and the others were existences at the quasi-emperor realm, but now they'd been directly suppressed for 1,000 years. Such a cruel punishment caused them to tremble in fear. Bikong, I'll leave this to you. The elder in Taoist robes sighed softly, feeling somewhat dispirited. Anyone would feel sad and disappointed when they saw that their descendants were so useless. Yes, patriarch, Ubikong said solemnly. Little friend, come, let's go have a drink. As the elder in Taoist robes spoke, he waved his sleeve and vanished from the platform with Lin Sun and Nan Xiao. Only after they left did everyone heave a long sigh of relief, as if they'd just awoken from a dream. When they looked at Ubikong again, their expressions had already become incomparably complicated. Someone couldn't help but ask, Patriarch, why didn't you mention anything about Ancestor Greensun's return? So long as one wasn't blind, one would be able to discern that Ubikong was obviously aware that Ancestor Greensun had returned to the clan, but he'd always concealed it from them, causing them to be completely unaware of it. It was Ancestor Greensun's idea. Ubikong's words caused everyone to be speechless. No matter how unwilling they were in their hearts, they didn't dare go against Ubikong at all at this moment. Some people had already thought dejectedly that after experiencing today's incident, Ubikong's position as patriarch would become even more firm, and no one would be able to shake it. On that very day, Ubikong gave the order as the patriarch to carry out a great purge of the Yu clan with the force of a thunderbolt. For a time, everyone in the Yu clan was in a state of panic and panic. However, all of this had nothing to do with Lin Sun. Within a small secret realm, little friend, when we parted at the mulberry forest that day, I had a premonition that with your talent, you'd definitely step foot onto the ancient path of the starry sky. In front of a simple stone house, Lin Sun and Yu Qingyang, an old man in a Taoist robe, sat opposite each other, drinking and chatting. Not far away, Nan Xiao was sitting cross-legged by the stream, meditating. Come, let's drink. Yu Qingyang raised his cup. Lin Sun smiled and drank with him. This was the first time he'd sat and drank with an Emperor Realm cultivator. Senior, I've come this time because I have something to ask you, Lin Sun said after a while. Yu Qingyang smiled and said, I don't deserve to ask for advice. He clearly remembered the scene when Lin Sun and the young man with the golden cicada were together. He also knew that Lin Sun had the great Tao No Blame lamp, which had incredible magical effects. Then, Lin Sun voiced out his doubts. Yu Qingyang told Lin Sun everything he knew, and he didn't hesitate to give Lin Sun some advice. Only then did Lin Sun know that the true dragon world was a mysterious place in the starry sky. If he wanted to go there, he could only rely on the bloodline of the true dragon. According to Yu Qingyang, the forces of the true dragon bloodline were entrenched in the primordial world of the central starfield. This meant that if Lin Sun wanted to go to the true dragon world, he had to go to the primordial world first. Ancient Wasteland Fighting League? I've heard of it. In primitive times, there was a group of Emperor Realm cultivators who went to the starry sky from the ancient Wasteland domain. They united and formed such a fighting league to fight against some powerful orthodoxies. However, this was in primitive times. If you want to find clues about the ancient Wasteland Fighting League, you might as well go to the Shinji Taoist sect. When Yu Qingyang said this, Lin Sun's heart skipped a beat. He remembered that the Shinji Pavilion in the ancient Wasteland domain was of the same origin as the Shinji Taoist sect. Ao Jintian, the descendant of the true dragon bloodline, had gone to the ancient Wasteland domain with Yin Huan, the successor of the Shinji Taoist sect, in order to invite Zhao Jingxian to the true dragon world to participate in the All Dragons immortal meeting. Well, the Shinji Taoist sect is also in the primordial world. Yu Qingyang said with a smile. Anyway, whether you want to find the true dragon world or find clues about the ancient Wasteland Fighting League, you can't go wrong in going to the primordial world. Lin Sun's expression changed. Not only that, he also had a jade hairpin given by senior brother Xin Kong, which he was going to give to Jiang Xingqiu, a member of the Jiang family. Lin Sun didn't know who Jiang Xingqiu was. But as far as he knew, Jiang Heng, a descendant of the Jiang family, cultivated in the Xuanji Taoist sect, which was also in the primordial world. It seems that I have to go to the primordial world. At this moment, Lin Sun finally made this decision. The starry sky ancient path was too vast, with countless star areas and worlds. If he didn't find out the information, he didn't know how many years it would take for him to find these clues. Soon, Lin Sun asked about the Dark World. Yu Qingyang, an Emperor Realm cultivator, showed a solemn expression when he mentioned the Dark World. My young friend, the Dark World is regarded as the land of all evils and the zone of chaos. It has existed since ancient times. I advise you not to try to get in touch with it. Even the Emperor Realm cultivators may suffer if they go there. Lin Sun's eyes flashed, and he said, "These years, I have met many killers from the Hidden Land Realm and the Shunji ancient sect. Their whereabouts are indeed mysterious, but they don't seem to be as powerful as I expected." Yu Qingyang shook his head. That only proves that the assassin is not as powerful as you. But it doesn't mean that the two dark forces are not terrifying. My young friend, you must remember that the targets targeted by the dark forces can never get rid of them unless they are killed. Lin Sun nodded. Fortunately, the Emperor Realm cultivators in the Dark World dare not show up on the ancient path of Starry Sky easily. Although these Emperors in the Dark World are incredibly powerful, they can't be exposed to the light. Once they show up, they will be targeted by the powerful figures on the ancient path of Starry Sky. A strange expression appeared on Yu Qingyang's face when he spoke up to this point. He said, "There's a saying that has been circulating on the ancient path of space. If the entire world is your enemy and you have nowhere to retreat to, the world of darkness is your final path of survival." Lin Sun was stunned and said with a smile, "If that day comes, I would like to have a try." Yu Qingyang was speechless. "You better not try. The Dark World is chaotic and extremely vicious. It's not easy to gain a foothold there." They talked while drinking. Lin Sun also learned a lot of secrets about the ancient path of Starry Sky from Yu Qingyang. For example, according to the different background, the Emperor clans were divided into immemorial Emperor clans, ancient Emperor clans, and contemporary Emperor clans. For example, the Emperor clan, Yu family, was a force of ancient Emperor clan. In the Central Star area, there were as many as 36 Emperor clans with titles that had survived since the primitive era. These were all immemorial Emperor clans. For example, among the 6 Great Tao courts, in addition to the 5 Taoist courts of Xianwang, Wilderness, Qianquan, Demons, and Panwu, the most mysterious orthodoxy was called Guiyuan. Chapter 1887. Guiyuan Taoist court was the most low-key and mysterious one among the 6 Taoist courts. According to Yu Qingyang, Guiyuan Taoist court was the most low-key and mysterious one among the 6 Taoist courts. For countless years, this Taoist court had almost been hidden from the world, and there were very few successors in the world. So most of the practitioners in the world rarely mentioned this Taoist court. Lin Sun was surprised. Guiyuan Taoist court has disappeared for so many years. How can it still stand among the 6 Taoist courts? Yu Qingyang sighed, because only the Emperor Realm figures know how powerful Guiyuan Taoist court is. It is said that there are very few successors in Guiyuan Taoist court, but each of them has the cultivation of Emperor Realm. His words were so shocking that Lin Sun almost couldn't believe it. Yu Qingyang said, "All great emperors, Guiyuan Taoist court." This sentence has long been proved by the long years. "It's incredible," Lin Sun gasped. Yu Qingyang said with a smile, "This may be the reason why there are so few successors in Guiyuan Taoist court. If there are more successors, it is impossible for all of them to reach the Emperor Realm." Lin Sun was speechless. Guiyuan Taoist court is also in the Hongmeng world? He couldn't help asking. Yu Qingyang nodded. Yes, unlike the other 5 Taoist courts, Guiyuan Taoist court has long been hidden from the world. No one in the world knows where its gate is. In contrast, Guiyuan Taoist court is more mysterious than the true Dragon World and the Dark World. Speaking of this, Yu Qingyang could not help but lament, a sect full of great emperors, yet they keep such a low profile and avoid the world. This has also become a mystery on the Starry Sky ancient path. Until now, no one knows why the Guiyuan Dao court did this. Yu Qingyang was an Emperor Realm figure, but even he sighed with emotion. It could be imagined how mysterious Guiyuan Taoist court was. They talked for a long time, and Lin Sun gradually understood some things. Since ancient times, there had been 3 periods on the Starry Sky ancient path. Primitive age, antiquity age, and contemporary age. Before the primitive age, it was the primitive age. The primitive age existed for 100,000 years, and then it was the antiquity age. From the antiquity age to the present day, nearly 100,000 years had passed. When this trivial matter was mentioned, Yu Qingyang suddenly had a flash of inspiration, and he said, "A very long time ago, a Tao ancestor of the dark yellow Tao court had once made a deduction. Every 100,000 years, a tremendous and shocking change would occur in the world. The old and the new would be replaced, and all phenomena would be reincarnated. At the end of the primitive age, there was a Taoist war of 10 regions, which affected the whole starry ancient way. From then on, we entered the antiquity age. By the way, the ancient desolation realm used to be the place of origin of all Taos, but because of the Decimo Tao War, it completely declined." Hearing this, Lin Sun suddenly narrowed his eyes. War of sect war. The vast ancient desolation realm declined because of this war? Lin Sun instantly thought of the 3 taboo Tao tribulations that enveloped the ancient desolation realm. The Tao-cutting tribulation had deprived all living beings in the ancient desolation realm of the chance to become emperors. The isolation tribulation had deprived all the creatures in the realm of ancient desolation of the way to explore the outside world. The entire realm of ancient desolation seemed to have turned into a cage. The forbidden tribulation had caused the ancient desolation realm to lose its path of cultivation. The 3 great taboo calamities were like layers of shackles that had shrouded the ancient desolation realm since ancient times until now. Later, in the mulberry forest, Lin Sun and the young man with golden cicada talked about the 3 taboos. Lin Sun clearly remembered that the young man with golden cicada once said, "Why was the ancient desolation shrouded by the 3 taboos after the primitive times? It's very simple. The 3 great taboo tribulations originate from the same law of will, and this law of will originates from the same master." At that time, Lin Sun felt horrified. Who was this person? What kind of terrifying power did he possess to be able to turn his will into the 3 forbidden tribulations that covered the entire realm of ancient desolation and trapped countless creatures in a cage? Moreover, he had been trapped in the ancient desolation realm for countless years. This was undoubtedly too terrifying. Later on, the golden cicada youth said, "To be able to arrange such a great calamity, he is at least a respected figure in the emperor realm. Such an existence's name is like the Tao, and it can't be described with words. It can be called the nameless emperor exalt." It was also at that time that Lin Sun knew that the power of the calamity that killed the holy monk Du Ji and the Black Phoenix Holy Queen came from the nameless emperor. The forbidden power sealed in the piece of charred Bodhi wood in his hand also came from this venerable emperor nameless. At this time, after listening to Yu Qingyang's words, Lin Sun vaguely understood as if a layer of window paper had been pierced through in his heart. At the end of the primitive times, the Taoist War of the 10 Directions broke out, which made the ancient desolation realm decline and enter the antiquity times. It was also at that time that the 3 great taboo tribulations shrouded the ancient desolation realm and continue to exist until now. Based on this speculation, the master of the 3 great taboo tribulations, the nameless emperor who had suppressed the ancient desolation realm for countless years with the law of will, must have participated in the Taoist War of the 10 Directions. I see, Lin Sun finally understood. Yu Qingyang didn't realize that his words had made Lin Sun think of so many things. He continued, "The antiquity times ended because of the Taoist War of the Emperors. Just like the Taoist War of the 10 Directions, from then on, the world entered the present." Lin Sun nodded. He had learned about the Taoist War of the Emperors. Gu Yupu, the 9th senior fellow apprentice, and some other successors of Mountain Heart and Mind had participated in this war. According to Gu Yupu, this was a battle of orthodoxies, and the inside story was extremely complicated. At this point, Lin Sun finally knew how the three major periods of the primitive times, the antiquity times, and the present were divided. Before the end of each period, it had gone through 100,000 years of ups and downs and ended with a Taoist war that affected the whole world. The Taoist War of the 10 Directions in the primitive times. The Taoist War of the Emperors in the ancient times. Senior, you just said that every 100,000 years, there will be earth-shaking changes in the world, the reincarnation of all phenomena, and the replacement of the old and the new, right? Lin Sun's heart stirred. Yu Qingyang nodded with an unfathomable expression on his face. That's right. In less than 1,000 years, it'll be 100,000 years. Little friend, do you think there'll be another great battle, like the Decimo Dao battle and the Emperor Dao battle when that day comes? Lin Sun was shocked, and his expression was uncertain. 1,000 years later, the present world would last for 100,000 years? Of course, this is just my guess. Whether it will be like what the Tao ancestor of the Heaven and Yellow Heaven Court deduced, it is hard to say. Yu Qingyang said slowly. As he said, he raised his cup again and drank with Lin Sun. After talking about these secrets, Yu Qingyang seemed to think of something and said, "My young friend, since you are here, you might as well stay for a while. I see that you are about to break through the realm. There's a chance that is quite suitable for you." Lin Sun was stunned. Chance? Yu Qingyang said, "The Dayu secret realm will open in less than a month. At that time, the top figures of the 9 worlds in the violet-hung starfield will participate, and it's all for the sake of fighting for a fortuitous encounter that's related to establishing the Saint King Dao Foundation that exists in the Dayu secret realm." Chapter 1888. An opportunity was related to establishing the Taoist root of a sage king. Lin Sun was not very tempted when he heard this. He was only waiting for an opportunity to break through on his own path of cultivation. There was no need for any opportunity at all. As if he had seen through Lin Sun's mind, Yu Qingyang said, "This opportunity was left by Emperor Yu, the ancestor of Yu clan. The place of opportunity is in the pattern of 9 cauldrons suppressing the world. Anyone who has the ability to enter it can obtain the power of 9 cauldrons to refine the field of Tao. My young friend, you may not have to worry about breaking through, but have you ever thought about how to condense your own field of Tao?" Lin Sun was tempted by these words. A sage king could master the field of Tao. Once it was displayed, the field of Tao would be like a world. When fighting against the enemy, being in the field of Tao would be like an incarnation of the ruler with great power. The condensation of the field of Tao was exactly what Lin Sun lacked at present. Lin Sun said, "Senior, please enlighten me." Yu Qingyang said, "The field of Tao is like the world. The field of Tao is to use the power of the great way controlled by oneself to evolve it into the power of rules like the world. The ultimate goal of our cultivation is to control the rules of heaven and earth and turn them into our own use. That's how the field of Tao is born." According to Yu Qingyang, the power of the field of Tao was related to the power of the great way controlled by the practitioner. The higher the quality of the great way controlled, the stronger the power of the field of Tao. One of the biggest differences was that the Dao domain controlled by a peak sage king was a notch above the Dao domain of an ordinary sage king. The power of the field of Tao controlled by the peerless saint king was also different. "My young friend, please have a look." As he said, Yu Qingyang moved his mind. Lin Sun was dazzled and suddenly appeared in a wonderful field of Tao. There were mountains and rivers, vast sky, lush vegetation, and full of vitality everywhere. This was not like a field of Tao. It was no different from a small world. As long as I move my mind, these mountains and rivers will turn into the power of the great way, like the rules of the world, and kill the opponent. When Yu Qingyang's voice resounded out, the boundless mountains and rivers in the distance suddenly seemed to have come alive and transformed into a blade that lay across the sky, and it emitted a brilliant light that filled the world. The clouds, the air currents, the plants, the earth, the shadows, all of them can be transformed into my power and used by me. Yu Qingyang said, "To put it simply, I'm the creator in this domain. With a single thought, I can do whatever I want and control life, death, and destruction. With that said, the Dao domain that resembled a pocket world vanished. But Lin Sun couldn't calm down. In the past, he had suppressed Ma Taijin and killed Wei Chong and Chai Feng. He had also witnessed the Dao domains that belonged to them. But compared to Yu Qingyang, Ma Taijin and company's Dao domain was like a dilapidated thatched cottage. The power of the domain is omnipresent. Little friend, look again. As Yu Qingyang spoke, he stretched out a finger, and a dazzling Taoist light suddenly appeared on his fingertip. Lin Sun looked at it. The light on his fingertip seemed to be filled with all kinds of profound truths, and it evolved into countless rules. The Dao domain can not only trap and kill the opponent, but also condense it in every move. In a battle, sword chi, saber chi, fist force, finger force, palm print. No matter what kind of fighting method you use, you can condense the power of the Dao domain in it. Yu Qingyang, a saber emperor who had shocked the starry sky a long time ago. With his personal guidance, Lin Sun also benefited a lot and had a deep understanding of the mystery of the power of the Dao domain. This kind of guidance was no different from teaching and dispelling doubts. You already have the body of a sage and a peerless Tao. When you break through the realm one day, you will definitely become a peerless sage king. The only thing you need to consider now is how to condense your own Dao domain. Yu Qingyang said, "So, I suggest that you make a trip to the Dao secret realm. The layout of the World Suppression 9 Cauldrons was left behind by my Yu clan's founding ancestor, and it possesses immeasurable benefits towards condensing and tempering one's Dao domain." At this point, Lin Sun readily agreed. "Senior, thank you for your guidance." Yu Qingyang laughed. Come on, let's drink." From this day on, Lin Sun lived in Jiuhua Divine Mountain and immersed himself in cultivation. Occasionally, he talked with Yu Qingyang about metaphysics and Tao, which often made him feel enlightened. Yu Qingyang was generous in giving Lin Sun advice. It could be said that he taught Lin Sun everything he felt and understood on the road of cultivation. To Lin Sun's delight, Yu Qingyang, who was originally worried about how to help Nan Xiu choose a sect, directly decided to let Nan Xiu follow him to cultivate when he knew this. Nan Xiu was extremely surprised and delighted that the Saber Emperor, who was famous in the starry sky, actually agreed to take him in for cultivation. Time passed little by little. Under Yu Bikong's vigorous reorganization, the situation in Yu Clan had been completely renewed and stabilized. Yu Bikong did not take this opportunity to help his son Yu Yunhe to the position of young patriarch. Instead, he still chose to hold the clan competition to select qualified candidates for the position of young patriarch. This made all the clansmen of Yu Clan heave a sigh of relief. A few days later, the clan competition of Yu Clan began as scheduled. Lin Sun and Nan Xiu also went to watch the competition and received special treatment from all the clansmen of Yu Clan present. Nowadays, all the clansmen of Yu Clan knew that this young man, named Lin Daoyuan, was a bosom friend of ancestor Qingyang, who dared to treat him as an ordinary person. 2 days later, the clan competition came to an end. In the end, 3 people stood out. They were Yu Yunfeng, who ranked first in the younger generation, Yu Yunlong, who ranked second in the younger generation, and Yu Yunhe, who ranked 6th in the younger generation. Yu Yunhe's performance was completely beyond the expectations of most of the clansmen of Yu Clan. Only then did they realize that Yu Yunhe, who had been regarded as an ignorant and foppish playboy these years, actually possessed an extremely powerful combat capability. This also confirmed the words of his father, Yu Bikong. How could a good-for-nothing become the first expert of a younger generation to become a peerless sage? Yu Yunzheng, who had always been against Yu Yunhe, did not show up at the clan competition at all. The reason was very simple. He had once teamed up with Lan Sai to harm Lin Sun. Then, he teamed up with other young disciples to target Lin Sun and Yu Yunhe. He was imprisoned by Yu Bikong without hesitation. It was likely that he would never be able to rise again in this life. On the same day, Yu Bikong announced that in half a month, Yu Yunhe, Yu Yunfeng, and Yu Yunzheng would go to the Dao secret realm with Lin Sun The Dayu world. Recently, the Dayu world was also turbulent. All of this was because the Dayu secret realm was about to open again. This time, the top figures of the 9 worlds in the Zhang Star Zone, including the Dayu world, would all participate in this feast. Whoosh! A treasure ship swept across the sky, carrying Lin Sun, Yu Yunhe, and the others to the distance. The Dayu secret realm was located near the Jiuzhou River. It was an area like a forbidden area, filled with cold torrents that rolled down from the sky. Usually, even sages wouldn't dare to go near it. When the Dayu secret realm opened, the cold torrents that covered the Jiuzhou River would retreat, and the entrance to the Dayu secret realm would emerge. The Dayu secret realm wasn't left behind by the ancestor of the Yu clan. Why does it allow the experts of the 9 worlds to participate in it? On the treasure ship, Lin Sun was a little curious. I know about this. When the ancestor of the Yu clan, Emperor Yu, forged the 9 cauldrons, he borrowed the power of the law of chaos from the 9 worlds. From then on, Emperor Yu promised to open the Dayu secret realm to the 9 worlds for those who were fated to explore it. Yu Yunhe explained quickly. Lin Sun finally understood. A few days later, they successfully arrived at the Jiuzhou River. Rumble, the magnificent Jiuzhou River, seemed to come from the sky. The sound of waves was like thunder. The waves were overflowing, and the cold torrents were spreading. It was spectacular and extremely terrifying. When Lin Sun and the others arrived, many cultivators had already appeared. The disciples of the Yu clan are here. Yu Yunhe? Ha! This pompous playboy is here too. Is there no one in the younger generation of the Yu clan? When they saw Lin Sun and the others, there was a commotion. Many people laughed at them because they found the playboy Yu Yunhe. As for Lin Sun, because he was unfamiliar, no one paid attention to him. Yu Yunhe looked very calm and said, "Brother Lin, don't pay attention to these guys who have eyes but can't see. Let's find a place to rest first. There's still about 3 days before the entrance of the secret realm opens." At that moment, they found a place to stay. Buzz! A fiery rainbow crossed the sky. In the fiery rainbow, a figure like a fire-winged deity could be vaguely seen. His whole body was surrounded by flames, and his eyebrows and hair were red. The wings on his back were flapping, and a magnificent rain of fire flowed. As soon as this person arrived, an overwhelming pressure filled the whole place, causing the void to distort violently and wail incessantly. It's Qilingzi from the infernal world. It is said that he was born with the real body of Taoist fire and is extremely talented. He is the first person in the great saint realm in the infernal world. Someone was surprised. It's him. I didn't expect him to come. I heard that a few years ago, after the starry great saint list was re-ranked, Qilingzi was ranked 73rd, which caused a sensation in the whole Zhang Star area. Many people gasped, causing a commotion in the field. Awesome. This is an opponent that we have to pay attention to and be doubly vigilant against. Yu Yunhe, Yu Yunfeng, and Yu Yunlong were all moved, revealing a look of fear. Those who could be ranked in the top 100 of the Starry Great Saint list were rare existences in the many worlds of the Zhang Star area. As for Lin Sun, he didn't even raise his eyelids. In the Kunlun ruins, he had killed many peerless great saints who were ranked higher than Qilingzi, such as Shuling Kun, Guzong Xin, Meng Yi, and so on. How could he put such a character in his eyes? Not to mention, even if Lin Sun himself was unwilling, he had to accept a fact. Chapter 1889. Qilingzi, I only wanted to spar with you. Why did you leave without saying goodbye? Not long after Qilingzi arrived, a voice as cold as snow sounded. Following that, a woman in a black gauze dress with smooth skin arrived. Shui Biyun, invincible in the same realm from the Xianshui world. Many people exclaimed. Invincible in the same realm meant that she was invincible among the great saints of the Xianshui world. Only then could she be worthy of such a title. Yu Yunhe and the others were speechless. They looked at Shui Biyun and Qilingzi in the void with shock in their eyes. Qilingzi's divine might was shocking and earth-shattering. Shui Biyun was not inferior and wanted to spar with him. Compared to them, I realized that there is always someone better. Yu Yunfeng was disappointed. They were all great saints, but Qi Ling Zi and Shu Aibiyun were like divine dragons in the sky that they could only look up to. Compared to Brother Lin, what are they? Yu Yunha suddenly said. For a moment, Yu Yunfeng and Yu Yunlong's expressions froze. They had almost forgotten that the person beside them was a heaven-defying character who could kill a king of saints. The arrival of Qi Ling Zi and Shu Aibiyun was just the beginning. Subsequently, along with the passage of time, numerous peerless figures whose names shook the purple-hung galaxy arrived successively. All of them came from different large worlds, and many of them had subordinates and experts by their sides, causing them to seem like stars surrounding the moon. Li Yu of the Rue Jin world, a rare genius in sword principle. Lai Dongzhan of the Green Nightmare world, said to have stepped into the King of Saints' realm in one step. His strength is extraordinary. Xiaobu Du of the Bailu world. The banks of the Jiuzhou River had never been as lively as it was today. Those geniuses and geniuses were like bright stars, blooming with different lights. There were even peerless goddesses with peerless grace. There were also influential figures from the Daiyu world, such as the successor of the number 1 sect, the Star Sword Pavilion, and so on. The expressions of Yu Yunha and the others became more and more solemn as they felt the pressure increase. Only Lin Sun remained calm from beginning to end. He turned a blind eye to the dazzling figures in the field and remained calm from beginning to end. Yu Yunha, you still have the face to show up? Suddenly, a group of people walked over from afar. They were led by a man and a woman. The man was dressed in a luxurious robe, and he had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. He had a dignified appearance, and one could tell at a glance that he was no ordinary person. The woman was dressed in a dark green dress. Her skin was sparkling and translucent, and her black hair was tied up in a bun. Her face was exquisite and beautiful. The one who spoke was the peerless beauty. Pill Cauldron Dao Sect's Mu Xiuqi and Zhang Beirong. So he is Zhang Beirong, the number 1 true disciple of the Pill Cauldron Dao sect and one of the 4 supreme blazing suns of the great Yu world. The crowd nearby became restless as they recognized the identity of the man and woman. Mu Xiuqi? At the same time, Lin Sun remembered that a guy named Mu Shiyuan had broken the engagement with Nan Xiu in the Tianxu realm, and Mu Xiuqi was Mu Shiyuan's sister. As far as Lin Sun knew, Yu Yunha went to the Tianxu realm in order to support Mu Shiyuan and win Mu Xiuqi's favor. Simply put, Yu Yunha was Mu Xiuqi's zealous pursuer. Lin Sun looked up and saw that Mu Xiuqi was extremely beautiful, but at this time, there was a cold expression between her eyebrows, as if she was going to denounce him. Junior sister Xiuqi, senior brother Beirong, you are here too. Yu Yunha greeted them. Don't try to get close to me. Mu Xiuqi scolded as if she was reprimanding a servant. Let me ask you, where's my brother? You said that you would bring him from the Tianxu realm to the great Yu world, but where is he? Yu Yunha's expression froze as he explained. Junior sister, it's a long story. Your younger brother had eyes, but failed to see and offended an expert. Before he finished, Mu Xiuqi interrupted him. She raised her eyebrows and said in a cold voice, You said my brother is blind? Yu Yunha, you are very bold now. Ho ho. Zhang Beirong laughed with disdain. Junior sister Xiuqi, you shouldn't have entrusted him with this matter. How can a domineering playboy be reliable? In the past, Yu Yunha would definitely admit defeat, not refute, and even explain to Mu Xiuqi with a smile. But since he had experienced so many changes, Yu Yunha had already turned over a new leaf. At this time, facing Mu Xiuqi's aggressive questioning, he felt an unspeakable disgust in his heart. How could he like such a woman in the past? He was really blind. Junior sister Xiuqi, out of consideration for our past relationship, I won't fuss about it with you. In the past, it was because I liked you that I was obedient to you and exercised forbearance. Now, please pay attention to your limits. Yu Yunha said coldly. Mu Xiuqi was stunned at once. Was this the same Yu Yunha who obeyed her and came and went at her beck and call? During these years, when did he dare to talk back to her? She was so angry that her pretty face turned blue. Junior brother Yunha. Zhang Beirong stood out and said coldly, You have gone too far. Hurry up and apologize to junior sister Shochi. In the sect, his status was much higher than that of Yu Yunha. In the past, he looked down on playboys like Yu Yunha the most. Therefore, he did not stand on ceremony when he spoke. Yu Yunha sneered. Zhang Beirong, who do you think you are? Why do you have to order me to apologize? You, how dare you? Zhang Beirong's face sank. The group of Pill Cauldron Dao sect experts behind him was stunned. They almost thought that Yu Yunha had gone mad to speak to Zhang Beirong in such a manner. Yu Yunha said with an indifferent expression, "You are right. I have always been very bold." Good, very good. Today, I will represent the sect to punish you, a madman who refuses to repent and goes against your superiors. As Zhang Beirong spoke, his figure stretched out and he pressed out with his palm. There were many cultivators present, and the top figures from the 9 great worlds were gathered here. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Yu Yunha's rebuttal made Zhang Beirong lose face. How dare you? Yu Yunfeng and Yu Yunlong were furious. Yu Yunha was a disciple of the Yu clan, so how could he be bullied like this? However, just as they were about to attack, a gray-robed old man suddenly appeared. His aura spread out like a landslide and a tsunami, causing the two to feel suffocated. A sage king. The two of them were shocked. As for Zhang Beirong's palm, it had already struck towards Yu Yunha. The surging and domineering palm force caused the void to collapse and rumble. Yu Yunha's pupils constricted. He was well aware of Zhang Beirong's strength. He definitely lived up to his reputation as the #1 true disciple of the Pill Cauldron Dao sect. But similarly, before Yu Yunha could attack this time, a fair and slender hand had already appeared abruptly, and it waved lightly in midair. Bang! Zhang Beirong staggered back, his chest heaving up and down. He was so upset that he almost coughed up blood. There was a commotion at the scene. Many onlookers revealed surprised expressions as they looked at Lin Sun, who had appeared in front of Yu Yunha unknowingly. Who is this fellow to actually be able to shake Zhang Beirong? When did such a powerful figure appear in the Yu clan? Everyone discussed animatedly. Zhang Beirong's handsome face had already turned gloomy. His eyes flickered as he said, "Who are you? How dare you interfere in the internal affairs of my Pill Cauldron Dao sect?" "Kneel down, bow, and apologize," Lin Sun said indifferently. 6 words resounded clearly in the ears of Zhang Beirong, Mu Xiuqi, and the other successors of the Pill Cauldron Dao sect, causing them to be enraged. What a madman! Even the eyes of the gray-robed old man who stood in front of Yu Yunfeng and Yu Yunlong flashed coldly. "You're courting death." Zhang Beirong's anger rose. He was the #1 successor disciple of the Pill Cauldron Dao sect. How could he kneel down and apologize in front of everyone? Lin Sun's words completely infuriated him. A terrifying aura rumbled and circulated within Zhang Beirong's body. The Dao light on his body was like a rainbow, as if a dragon's roar resounded, and his power shot into the sky. At this moment, everyone's gazes turned towards him. However, Lin Sun did not say a word. He merely stretched out a hand and pressed towards the void. Boom! A terrifying force suddenly spread out, pressing down on Zhang Beirong like an ancient divine mountain, forcing him to kneel. Zhang Beirong's robes fluttered as power surged. One could see that behind him, his spine was like a huge dragon that suddenly rose up and transformed into a pill cauldron. True dragon cauldron energy. Break! Zhang Beirong roared as the dragon-shaped cauldron glowed, bursting with immeasurable power. His cultivation was at the peak of the great sage realm. Coupled with his extraordinary talent and marvelous Dao body, his combat strength was incomparably strong. However, it was beyond his expectations. The true dragon cauldron energy only lasted for a moment before it exploded. Following that, endless palm force pressed down, shattering the protective force around his body. With a bang, he fell to the ground on all fours, prostrating himself on the ground. He had suppressed the #1 successor disciple of the Pill Cauldron Dao sect with one palm. This, everyone present was shocked. Zhang Beirong was one of the 4 supreme geniuses of the Great Yu realm. Her name had long been known throughout the world. Although she was not as powerful as Qi Ling Zi, Shui Biyun, and other peerless figures who could shake the Zihong star area, she was still a top talent among her peers. How could she be so easily suppressed? Ah, Zhang Beirong roared. His cheeks were flushed, and he was furious. However, no matter how much he struggled, it was of no use. Instead, he was suppressed again, and his entire body was embedded into the ground with a bang. There was a moment of silence. The successors of the Danding Taoist sect were speechless, and their expressions changed. How is this possible? Mu Xiuqi's eyes widened in disbelief. His delicate body trembled in fear. Only Yu Yunhe, Yu Yunfeng, and Yu Yunlong remained calm. They had all seen Lin Sun's true ability. Suppressing Zhang Beirong was nothing at all. Let go of me, or my Danding Taoist sect will destroy your entire sect, Zhang Beirong roared. I asked you to apologize, but you threatened me. You overestimate yourself. Lin Sun's black eyes turned cold, and his palm force gushed out. With a burst of crackling sounds, Zhang Beirong screamed. His limbs and bones were broken, and blood flowed from his 7 orifices. Stop! A dignified voice sounded. The gray-robed elder who had stood in front of Yu Yunfeng and Yu Yunlong suddenly flashed, and his fingers were like swords as he slashed towards Lin Sun. The power of a king of sages was far from ordinary. However, when everyone thought that Lin Sun would either be suppressed or choose to dodge, an unexpected scene happened. Chapter 1890. Boom! An earth-shattering collision sound rang out. Lin Sun stood still, but the gray-robed elder was shaken by the impact before he managed to stabilize himself. Everyone was shocked, and their pupils dilated. Even peerless figures like Qi Ling Zi and Shui Biyun revealed expressions of shock. They were confident that they could suppress Zhang Beirong in a battle of the same realm, but the gap between them and a king of sages would be huge. However, a peak great saint was actually able to clash head-on with a king saint. This was simply too shocking. Who was he? Why had they never heard of such a person in the Daiyu world? Old man, don't blame me for being ruthless if you don't know what's good for you. Lin Sun's voice was cold. He had helped Yu Yunhe this time because Yu Qingyang had done him a great favor. With him around, he could not tolerate Yu Yunhe being bullied. The gray-robed elder's expression changed several times. Finally, he took a deep breath and said, "Let go of Zhang Beirong, and this matter will be over. Apologize first, then let him go," Lin Sun said resolutely. The gray-robed elder was furious. His sleeves fluttered, and a surge of ferocious power surged, causing many cultivators nearby to hold their breaths. This was the power of a king of sages. If you want to see him die, continue. Lin Sun flicked his fingers, not caring at all. The tsunami-like pressure rushed towards Lin Sun, but it was like a breeze blowing on a hill. Not even the corner of his clothes fluttered. Zhang Beirong, who was suppressed on the ground, was so uncomfortable that he was seeing stars. He felt like he was on the verge of collapse. Many cultivators nearby could not remain calm. In the Daiyu world, who would dare to go against an expert from the Danding Taoist sect and even threaten him? Only Yu Yunhe was puzzled. Didn't Elder Ma Taijin say that he was suppressed by Lin Sun after returning to the sect? Otherwise, the gray-robed elder would not have the guts to go against Lin Sun. He must be tired of living. I apologize. At this moment, Zhang Beirong spoke first. The feeling of impending death made him so agitated that he did not care about his face anymore. The gray-robed elder let out a long sigh. The experts from the Pill Cauldron Tao sect all revealed looks of shame and indignation. Zhang Beirong's lowering of her head made them feel ashamed. There is nothing better than being able to correct one's mistakes. I hope you can remember this lesson. If you provoke me again, you won't be so lucky anymore. Lin Sun raised his palm, and Zhang Beirong felt as if he had been struck by a great calamity. His entire body felt as if it had been lifted by 1,000 mountains. He was helped up by the other successors of the Pill Cauldron Tao sect. He did not dare to stay any longer, nor did he have the face to remain here. Young man, we will remember this lesson. The gray-robed old man snorted coldly as a ruthless look flashed in his eyes. Lin Sun smiled and didn't care at all. If it were him, he would have killed the gray-robed elder with such an attitude. After all, he was not a cultivator from the Great U world. He could just leave after killing him. However, things are different now. He had Yu Yunhe by his side. The latter was the successor of the Pill Cauldron Dao sect. If he killed Zhang Beirong and the gray-robed elder, he would definitely implicate Yu Yunhe. Watching Zhang Beirong, Mu Xiuqi, and the others leave with their tails between their legs, Yu Yunhe was also incomparably carefree in his heart. When the other cultivators present looked at Lin Sun's group again, the way they looked at him had become different from before. Especially when they looked at Lin Sun, many people already had a look of fear on their faces. Of course, for peerless figures like Qi Lingzi and Shui Biyun, Lin Sun's existence was not a threat to them. Firstly, it was because they were confident that their battle strength was practically invincible amongst their peers. Secondly, it was because they were escorted by Saint King realm experts. On the other hand, Lin Sun's group only had 4 people, and all of them were peerless great sages. Such a combination was not a threat to them. Whoosh, before long, the cold torrent covering the 9 states river began to recede, and a secret realm portal appeared above the river. "Let's go! Let's go!" Immediately, many cultivators rushed over. In addition to those peerless figures, many ordinary cultivators also followed. Although they dared not expect to obtain any great fortune, it would be a great harvest if they could pick up some treasures, elixirs, and cultivation methods. "Brother Lin, shall we also start moving?" Yu Yunhe looked at Lin Sun. "Let's go." Lin Sun nodded, and the group rushed in. Ancient mountains rose and fell continuously in the Dayu secret realm. The sky was filled with chaotic qi, presenting a primitive and desolate atmosphere. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Countless brilliant escape lights flew between heaven and earth. Some rode immortal birds, some stepped on flying swords, and some rode treasure ships. It was a spectacular sight to behold. Lin Sun, Yu Yunhe, and the others flew among them, looking inconspicuous. "Brother Lin, the place of opportunity left by the ancestor of Yu clan is located in the 9 Pinnacles mountain range. At our speed, we can reach there in less than half a day." On the way, Yu Yunhe introduced quickly. However, that place is not accessible to ordinary people. It is covered with extremely terrifying restrictive power. Generally speaking, if you want to seek the opportunity in the 9 Pinnacles mountain range, you must have the help of a Taoist master. Otherwise, it is extremely easy to be trapped and die. As they talked, they flew forward quickly. The Dayu secret realm was huge, like a world of its own. However, Lin Sun and the others still met many cultivators along the way. From time to time, they could see long rainbows flashing across the sky. Kill. Along the way, there were fights and killings. Some of them were fighting for the peerless treasures that grew in the secret realm, while others were fighting for the treasures that were scattered between the mountains and rivers. Of course, there were also many cases of people killing and robbing others of their treasures. Killing and arson earned money. Repairing bridges and roads left no corpses. Rather than painstakingly searching for the opportunity, it was better to kill and rob. This method was undoubtedly the simplest and most brutal, and the benefits were the most obvious. Along the way, Lin Sun and the others did not meet any ignorant people. Moreover, their goal was very clear. They completely ignored the other opportunities along the way and headed straight for the 9 Pinnacles mountain range. Later on, there were fewer and fewer cultivators along the way. However, the cultivators who dared to venture deep were at least descendants of famous sections. Half a day later, Lin Sun and the others finally arrived at the 9 Pinnacles mountain range. Looking from afar, the 9 sacred mountains rose from the ground and sat in the 9 palaces. They were like 9 huge cauldrons, giving off a shocking visual impact. At this moment, a group of cultivators had already gathered in front of the 9 Pinnacles mountain range. The 9 sacred mountains have 9 paths to the core of the hinterland of the mountain range. However, each path is covered with a terrifying restrictive formation. Yu Yunhe pointed into the distance. "Brother Lin, please look. This is the layout of the 9 Pinnacles suppressing the world. Our ancestor, Emperor Yu once collected the origin law of chaos of the nine worlds and forged the nine pinnacles imperial weapons here. Thus, this place became known to the world as a place of fortune. Anyone who can enter it has the opportunity to break through the realm and become a king of sages. Moreover, the origin law of chaos that is distributed here is also immeasurable for condensing and refining the Tao realm. Lin Sun nodded and said, "Then let's start." He spread his divine sense and noticed that many top figures from the nine great worlds had already taken action. They flew into the Nine Pinnacles mountain, which was covered with terrifying restrictions from different directions. Among them, there were Qi Lingzi, Shui Biyun, Liu, Lai Dongzhan, Xiao Budu, and other extremely dazzling figures. Similarly, Lin Sun also noticed that Zhang Beirong, Mu Xiuqi, and the others from the Danding Dao sect had also entered. However, breaking the array was not an easy task. Not everyone could enter the core area of the Nine Pinnacles mountain. "Brother Lin, where do we enter from?" Yu Yunhe could not help but ask. He knew very well that Lin Sun was also a Dao Tattoo Grandmaster and was even more powerful than Master Mo. "I'll have to trouble you first." As Lin Sun spoke, he waved his sleeve and moved the three of them into the Tower of Endless Way. Swoosh! He did not hesitate and did not choose any direction at all. He rushed straight towards the Nine Pinnacles mountain in the distance. Whoosh! As soon as he entered, Lin Sun felt that time and space were reversed. The entire Nine Pinnacles mountain seemed to have turned into a white world. The river water that blotted out the heavens and covered the earth surged over in a frenzy. Shockingly, the river water was actually formed from the terrifying power of the restriction. It was not simple indeed. Only then did Lin Sun understand why the restrictive formation of the Nine Pinnacles mountain was so terrifying. The terrifying river current was enough to kill a saint realm cultivator. Even a great saint was destined to die if he barged in rashly. Lin Sun's divine sense spread across the world. He could clearly feel that there were many invisible Dao Tattoo restrictive formations operating in this world. They were extremely powerful and full of killing intent. Powerful auras were moving forward with difficulty in different regions of this world. Obviously, these were peerless figures like Lin Sun who had entered this world from different regions. They moved cautiously and cautiously. They were protected by king sages and led by Dao Tattoo grandmasters as they headed towards the core of this world. Lin Sun did not intend to conceal himself and did not hold back anymore. His huge divine sense spread out and instantly understood the mystery of the Dao Tattoo restrictive formations. Then, he shot up into the sky and turned into a dazzling rainbow as he headed towards the core of this world formed by the power of the restrictive formation. He had already felt the mysterious aura of the origin of chaos. It was right there, rumble, in the world, the restrictive formations that could make a Dao Tattoo Grandmaster act, as if they were facing a formidable enemy, seemed to be non-existent in front of Lin Sun. As he flew forward, the power of the restrictive formations produced thunderous fluctuations that lasted for a long time. Looking from afar, he seemed like a rainbow as he moved forward freely in the densely intertwined restrictive rules. At this moment, many experts who had entered this restrictive world were alarmed as they noticed the dazzling figure that pierced through the sky. Who is that? How dare he barge in like this? Is he tired of living? Chapter 1891. All the strongmen who entered the Nine Cauldrons restriction world were cautious and careful at every step for fear of violating the restriction formation and causing a disaster. But that man was so arrogant that he ignored the restriction formation and broke indirectly, which made many people exasperated. Something's wrong. When they saw that Lin Sun didn't encounter any obstacle and passed through the Taoist restriction formation with irresistible force, many people began to change their expressions. Damn it, which bastard is this? Does he want to die? Qiling's face was gloomy and his heart was burning with anxiety. Hurry up, break the restriction formation with all your strength. Even if some treasures are damaged, we must rush in as soon as possible. He began to urge the Taoist masters around him, At the same time, he began to break the restriction formation with force together with the Saint King who accompanied him. It was well known that the big opportunity in the hinterland of a Nine Cauldrons mountain was located in the core of the world covered by the restriction formation. How could Chilling tolerate being robbed by others? Change the plan and move forward with all your strength. Hurry up, take out all the flying spiritual insects and use them to break the restriction formation. At the same time, in different areas of the world covered by the restriction formation, Shui Biyun, Liu, Lai Dongzhan, Xiao Budu, and other peerless figures all realized the seriousness of the situation and began to move with all their strength. Some summoned densely packed puppet beasts of all shapes and sizes, risking the large number of puppets to break through the formation with all their might. Some took out magical plants, which instantly produced countless branches and vines, like countless hands, and rushed to different areas of the restriction formation. Some took out the spiritual insects they raised, some drove some remnant souls to open the way. All kinds of means were used. Obviously, these top figures from the 9 great worlds had come prepared, and they'd made sufficient preparations for this operation. No one could easily give up this opportunity, or in other words, they were determined to win this action. Hurry up, we must hurry up. In the vast restriction formation world, an invisible contest broke out completely. At the core of this world that was enveloped by the power of restrictions stood a lofty divine hall. It was 300 meters tall, and it was completely made from chaotic bronze. It was brilliant and imposing. In front of the temple, a tall figure stood with his hands behind his back, his black hair fluttering in the wind. He raised his head slightly and stared at the ancient bronze temple. Lin Sun was the first to arrive. The door of the shrine was tightly shut. Birds, beasts, insects, fish, the sun, the moon, and the stars were engraved on it. A raging river descended from the sky and swept through the mountains, rivers, and all living things. An imposing figure with his back towards all living beings stood above the river. He forged 9 cauldrons and suppressed the 9 directions of this world. Could this be the ancestor of the Yu clan, Emperor Yu? Lin Sun once heard from Yu Qingyang that the history of Yu clan could be traced back to the early ancient times, which was after the end of the primitive times. Therefore, the Yu clan was truly an ancient emperor clan. This Emperor Yu was naturally a supreme figure who had attained the Tao in the early ancient times. He had once gathered the power of the chaos source law of the 9 great worlds and forged the 9 cauldrons of monarch weapons in this secret realm located in the 9 prefectures river. Now, such a picture appeared on the gate of the bronze shrine, which naturally made Lin Sun's imagination run wild. Not long after, Lin Sun waved his sleeves. Yu Yunhe, Yu Yunfeng, and Yu Yunlong appeared. When they saw the ancient bronze divine hall, disbelief filled their faces. Emperor Yu's divine palace. This was the place of opportunity left by their ancestor. However, how long had it been? How could Lin Sun arrive so soon? Lin Sun said, "I've sensed it with my divine sense." The mystery contained in the gate of the divine hall is related to some of the past history of your Yu clan. You might as well comprehend it. Brother Lin's guess is right. In the eyes of outsiders, the opportunity in Emperor Yu's divine palace is of utmost importance. But for us descendants of the Yu clan, whether we can comprehend the secret of Emperor Yu's 9 cauldrons water harnessing diagram left by our ancestor through this gate is the most important thing. Yu Yunhe had inadvertently revealed a secret. This made Yu Yunfeng and Yu Yunlong nervous. They were afraid that Lin Sun would also be tempted, which would be troublesome. Lin Sun glanced at the two of them and said, "If I want to rob it, can you stop me?" The two of them were embarrassed for a while. "Hurry up and comprehend it. Don't waste time." Lin Sun didn't say anything more. He turned his back to Emperor Yu's divine palace and looked at the world in the distance that was covered by the power of prohibition. Yu Yunhe and the other two also knew that time was pressing. They all operated the inheritance of their clan and meditated. Not long after, there was a ripple in the formation and a group of figures rushed out. The leader was Shui Biyun and her group from the Xinshui world. When she saw Lin Sun, Yu Yunhe, and the others standing nearby. Shui Biyun frowned and said in surprise, "The figure that turned into a divine rainbow and charged forward was you?" She had a deep impression of Lin Sun. Outside the Jiuzhou River, Lin Sun had once suppressed Zhang Beirong and fought a king sage without being at a disadvantage. She was very moved by this. However, Shui Biyun didn't expect that the figure that charged through the void and flew through the formation with irresistible force was actually Lin Sun. This was completely out of her expectations. Lin Sun looked at them quietly. 2 king sages, a Dao pattern grandmaster, and 4 great sages, including Shui Biyun. According to Lin Sun's shallow understanding of the Dao world, this team could be said to be strong and could dominate a region. Shui Biyun said indifferently, "Everyone, regardless of whether you came first or not, if you don't want to cause any trouble, you better step aside obediently." There was a faint threat in her words. Yu Yunhe and the other 2 were nervous. They didn't expect their competitors to arrive so quickly. They all looked at Lin Sun. Lin Sun said without looking back, "With me here, you don't need to care about anything else. Just focus on comprehending. Are you going to refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit?" Shui Biyun's clear eyes turned cold. As an invincible figure in the Xianshui world, even the ancestors of the ancient tribes had to show some respect when she traveled in the world. Lin Sun's attitude at the moment made her very uncomfortable. Didn't this guy see that it was impossible for him to stop them by himself? "Miss, time is running out. It's time to act." A silver-haired old woman beside Shui Biyun said with a sharp voice. Her eyes revealed undisguised killing intent. But at this moment, there was another violent sound from the formation in the distance. Then, a group of people rushed over. The figure in the lead was a slender figure surrounded by bright flames. A pair of wings flickered and emitted misty flame Taoist patterns. Qi Lingzi, the group, led by him, also came. It seemed that they were more or less embarrassed. Obviously, they had suffered a lot when breaking the formation. But even so, it didn't damage their momentum. "You're lucky." Shui Biyun glanced at Lin Sun coldly. Her killing intent had quietly changed to target Qi Lingzi and his companions. Compared with Lin Sun, Qi Lingzi and his companions were the enemies she valued. Although they came from different worlds, Shui Biyun had heard that Qi Lingzi was born with great strength and superior aptitude. He was regarded as the first person in the Great Saint realm in the fire world. Swish! A sword shadow appeared behind Shui Biyun. The sword edge was shimmering and obscure, and it pointed to Qi Lingzi, who had just arrived. "Humph! I don't want to fight with you in the outside world, but it doesn't mean I'm afraid of you." Qi Lingzi's pupils shrank. He also noticed Lin Sun and his companions, but he ignored them directly. Obviously, he thought the same as Shui Biyun. He didn't think Lin Sun and his companions were a threat. Boom! As soon as he raised his hand, a flame spear appeared. The flames were steaming, and the breath of destruction was amazing. At the same time, the experts around Qi Lingzi and Shui Biyun were ready to fight, and they didn't hide their fighting intent. Swords were drawn. Lin Sun, Yu Yunhe, and the others behind him, on the contrary, were ignored, but this battle didn't break out because there were waves of violent fluctuations in the forbidden formation in the distance. A tall young man with bulging muscles exuded a terrible power of blood and qi. He was Li Yu, the peerless swordsman of the Rui Jin world. In an instant, Qi Lingzi and Shui Biyun both narrowed their eyes and resisted the urge to fight. The current situation was no longer a confrontation between 2 armies, but a tripartite confrontation. But soon the situation changed again. Lai Dongzhan of the Green Nightmare world, Xiao Budu of the White Wave world. One by one, the unparalleled figures from different great worlds dashed over with their retainers. For a moment, many elites gathered in front of Emperor Yu's celestial palace. They stood side by side, and the situation was changing rapidly. It seems that we can't decide the winner at this moment. Qi Lingzi took a deep breath and put away the divine flame spear. Shui Biyun snorted coldly, and the cold sword shadow behind her disappeared. "That person just now was you." Li Yu's eyes were like lightning as he looked at Lin Sun in the distance. The others nearby also looked over with unfriendly expressions. Previously, they entered the world covered in forbidden formations from different paths. The fight between them wasn't very fierce, and everything was very orderly. But Lin Sun's appearance was like throwing a boulder into a pool of stagnant water, and it completely disrupted all their plans. Moreover, in order to get here at full speed, they had more or less suffered losses along the way. Some experts' treasures were destroyed, and some were injured. What's more, there were even casualties around some experts. This made them extremely angry and unhappy. If no one had interfered, how could they have suffered losses? For a time, the atmosphere was oppressive, and all the heroes present vaguely pointed at Lin Sun. At this moment, Lin Sun still stood there quietly, as if he didn't care. His expression didn't change at all, but everyone could see that he was standing there to protect you, Yunhe, and the others. Why aren't you talking? Weren't you very impressive when you barged through the layers of forbidden formations just now? Liu's voice was cold. Chapter 1892. Everyone was surprised that Liu was ignored again. A peerless great sage leading 3 other peerless great sages was undoubtedly the weakest group of people in front of Emperor Yu's divine palace. The crux of the matter was that Lin Sun and the others did not have a king of sages by their side. However, Lin Sun alone showed the posture of one man guarding the pass, and seemed to be so fearless. How could the people present not be surprised? Was he courting death? Or was he risking his life to snatch the opportunity? This fellow is destined to suffer a calamity. In the distance, Zhang Beirong, Mu Xiuqi, and the others from Danding Dao sect had come out. They looked at Lin Sun, who was standing in front of the crowd, with deep hatred. Sure enough, something happened in the next moment. How dare you ignore my young master's question? I'll send you on your way. Beside Liu, a golden-robed elder snorted coldly. His hands were like claws, pulling out rays of sharp golden finger power. With bursts of Dao sounds, he grabbed at Lin Sun. Realm of Tao, golden essence finger. The old man next to Li, he was a saint king. As soon as he attacked, he displayed a terrifying and oppressive aura. Bang! The grasping force composed of countless golden fingers was smashed by Lin Sun's sleeve before it could get close to Lin Sun. Everyone's eyes narrowed. Many of the peerless figures present were the top figures in their respective worlds. They were experienced and could instantly tell that Lin Sun was not afraid of the power of the realm of Tao. How is this possible? They could not believe it. To their knowledge, only the peerless genius who was ranked top 5 on the Starry Sky Great Sage list could fight a king of sages across realms on the Starry Sky Ancient Path. However, they had never heard of such a peerless genius from Daiyu World. This was too unusual. However, they were only surprised and not afraid. As the top figures in their respective worlds, how could they be afraid? Don't embarrass yourself with the power of the realm of Tao before you set foot on the peak. At this moment, Lin Sun finally spoke in an indifferent voice. However, when it entered into the ears of the golden-robed old man, it was like the most vicious ridicule, and it caused his face to flush red and his hair to flutter with rage. Not only that, but the other Saint Kings present were also displeased. They had also never set foot on the absolute peak. Lin Sun's words were equivalent to looking down on all of them. For a moment, they looked at Lin Sun with killing intent in their eyes. If it were someone else, he would have been frightened by such a siege. But Lin Sun didn't change his expression at all. Instead, he said lightly, "Don't blame me for not warning you. You'd better disappear right now or stay there obediently. Otherwise, you'll be responsible for your own life and death." His tone was casual, as if he was eating and drinking. Everyone was stunned at first, and then they revealed expressions of disbelief. After that, they couldn't help but roar with laughter. This guy actually dared to threaten all of them? Who do you think you are? You haven't even stepped into the Saint King realm, yet your tone is even more arrogant than a Saint King. Didn't your parents tell you that a loose tongue can cause trouble? Someone berated. You overestimate yourself. The others sneered. There were more than 10 groups of forces gathered in front of Emperor Yu's divine palace. There were dozens of Saint Kings and a group of peerless figures. Even if a Saint King were here, they would probably be frightened out of their wits and flee in panic. However, Lin Sun remained very calm. In fact, he didn't even want to say anything more. "Why are you talking nonsense with him? Just kill him," someone shouted. "Humph!" Lin Sun directly attacked. In his eyes, these people were not a threat. They were just like a motley crew. Who would see a dragon in the sky reasoning with an ant on the ground? Just kill him. A dazzling green palm print condensed and fiercely slapped down through the air. The man who shouted just now was about to dodge, but his whole body was smashed by the palm print. His flesh and blood splattered everywhere. He had killed a peak great saint with a single palm strike. "You're courting death." Li was furious. The one who died was an expert beside him. But no one expected that Lin Sun would dare to take the initiative to attack in front of everyone. "Kill." The golden-robed elder by Li Yu's side was even more direct. He waved his hands and struck out with a dazzling golden finger force. The finger force manifested the image of a domain, and the laws interweaved. It was as if a god had extended his finger. Previously, when he failed to hit Lin Sun, he was already embarrassed. Now that Lin Sun killed someone under his nose, he was completely furious and used his true power. Boom! Lin Sun put one hand behind his back and pressed out with the other. Taowu seal. The lifelike Taowu roared and rushed out from the image of a huge abyss. It turned into a huge seal that covered the sky. It had the overbearing power to crush mountains and rivers and suppress all living beings. The golden-robed elder's finger force was instantly suppressed by the huge seal. In the deafening roar, the seal exploded inch by inch. Countless rays of light turned into a rain of light. The terrifying power pressed on the golden-robed elder, causing him to stagger back and almost fall into the Tao pattern forbidden formation in the distance. The golden-robed elder was shocked. He was a saint king, but when he faced Lin Sun's seal, he felt as if he was being suppressed by an ancient divine mountain. The terrible power that could collapse the sky and the earth made his blood and chi churn. He was so uncomfortable that he almost coughed up blood. "Die!" But before the golden-robed elder could react, Lin Sun took a step forward. Behind the golden-robed elder, a force of prohibition suddenly surged. The rolling Tao pattern forbidden formation turned into a monstrous torrent, covering the golden-robed elder's figure. Boom! In an instant, the golden-robed elder, a saint king, was killed and his body turned into ashes. This time, Lin Sun killed the saint king with one strike. This world-shocking scene caused the expressions of everyone in the surroundings to change, and they were astounded in their hearts. Only now did they realize that something was off. "Let's do it together." Liu roared, his eyes almost popping out of his sockets. A divine sword made of primordial gung metal emerged from behind him and slashed at Lin Sun. Then, over 10 peerlessly terrifying auras charged out from different directions, and they were simply like numerous erupting volcanoes. Their surging might filled the heavens and the earth, and it pressed down upon everyone to the point of almost being suffocated. "Rise!" Qi Lingzi was surrounded by raging flames, like the ruler of divine fire. A flaming spear appeared in his hand. "Condense!" Shui Bian stepped on the rolling water in Taoist light, her clothes fluttering. At the same time, Lai Dongzhan stepped on the air, his blood and qi surging. Xiao Budu turned into a demonic barbarian god, more than 30 meters tall. In an instant, a siege was launched, and all the attacks were directed at Lin Sun. Killing a great saint with one strike was shocking, but not terrifying. But when Lin Sun showed the means to kill a saint king with one strike, everyone realized that something was wrong and chose to take action. Boom! The divine palace of Emperor Yu began to shake. Countless Tao pattern forbidden formations appeared, protecting the ancient palace from the impact. Kill! Qi Lingzi, who had a pair of flaming wings on his back, was a little faster than a saint king. He was the first to attack Lin Sun. His whole body was red, and the sound of Tao surged. The flaming spear in his hand pierced through the void at an incredible speed, stabbing at Lin Sun. Everyone could only see a bright glow of fire. This guy has hidden his strength well. He has actually entered the Saint King realm in one step. Shui Biyun was shocked. With this strike alone, Shui Biyun realized how terrifying Qi Lingzi was. His strength could almost compete with the Saint King realm. Clang! Suddenly, there was a sound of collision. A ray of sword Qi swept out from Lin Sun's body and easily blocked the tip of the flaming spear. The flaming spear, which could be called a divine weapon, let out a mournful cry and flew out of Lin Sun's hand. Bang! Then, as if struck by lightning, Qi Lingzi's figure was sent flying. He staggered back in air, blood spurting from his mouth and nose. Lin Sun's sword directly injured Qi Lingzi. "Let me!" Liu shouted. The golden divine sword swept through the air, sprinkling brilliant sword qi. With one strike, the sword qi exploded like a scorching sun, fierce and overbearing. This time, Lin Sun didn't even bother to make a move. He just gently spat out a Dao sound from his lips. "Get lost!" A syllable with a sense of humiliation turned into golden ripples, and the strange phenomenon of Puzeo roaring to the sky appeared in the ripples. The void cracked at this moment. In the eyes of the crowd, they could only see the golden ripples passing by. Li Yu's sword was torn apart like a piece of paper. When it touched Li Yu's figure, the latter's divine soul was almost shattered, and his mind suffered a terrible shock. At this moment, the word "get lost" was like the roar of an ancient demon, shaking Li Yu's qi, bones, and flesh. In the end, he was bathed in blood and fell out like a tattered sack. One word, "get lost." Li Yu, a peerless figure who could be said to be invincible in the same realm in a big world, was almost killed on the spot. The whole place was silent, and all the attacks stopped. Many people gasped, and their bodies and minds trembled. How could he be human? He was simply a heaven-defying freak that could not be measured by common sense. Zhang Bairong's eyeballs almost fell out. When he saw Lin Sun being surrounded, he was gloating and excited, thinking that Lin Sun would be killed by the crowd. In the end, none of the expected scenes appeared. Instead, they were all destroyed by Lin Sun's "get lost." Mu Xiuqi's delicate body trembled. What kind of existence had they offended? Boom! At this moment, Lin Sun moved and took the initiative to attack. His figure shifted, and like a wisp of smoke, he appeared in front of the nearest king of saints. Whoosh, a rain-like Taishian sword qi swept out from his tall figure, condensing into a dense sword formation and shrouding the king of saints. Break! The king of saints let out a roar, and a white Tao realm appeared behind him. Within the Tao realm, snow and ice fluttered, and the cold wind was biting. Endless frost howled, and all of this was formed by the power of the law. The killing intent was everywhere, and it was enough to make most great saints powerless to resist. Unfortunately, he had encountered Lin Sun, who had always been different from the world. Boom! Chapter 1893. Blood rained down. Another king sage was killed. The most horrifying thing was that he didn't even have the time to scream. After killing this person, Lin Sun didn't stop at all and continued to push forward. Boom! His body was like a furnace in a chaotic world as he performed his own techniques. Every move he made carried a monstrous divine power that swept across the battlefield. The void was in chaos and rumbled like thunder. In just a moment, more than 10 great sages were killed, and 4 to 5 kings of sages were mercilessly killed. As for Lin Sun, his body shone brightly as he walked through the battlefield. He was like a god from the depths of the abyss, reaping lives easily. This was too terrifying. In his hands, the great sage was as weak as grass. The kings of sages were slightly better, but they were either dead or injured. For a moment, the battlefield was filled with a bloody storm. It was chaotic and turbulent. Countless angry and mournful screams resounded. It should be known that these were all top figures from the 9 great worlds. Moreover, they were accompanied by kings of sages. Identity, status, resources, cultivation, all of them could be said to be at the peak of a world and outstanding talents of the same cultivation realm. But in front of Lin Sun, they were like chickens and dogs. Yu Yunhe and the others were dumbfounded and shocked. How could they focus on comprehending the secrets of Emperor Yu's Nine Cauldrons hydrological diagram when such a shocking, chaotic battle occurred? Although they knew that Lin Sun's combat strength was heaven-defying, Yu Yunhe and the others were still shocked when they saw Lin Sun's unstoppable and domineering figure. Everyone, if you continue to hold back, no one will be able to fight for the fortune in Emperor Yu's divine palace, Shui Biyun said coldly. Behind her, the dark and cold sword image transformed into layers upon layers of ripples, faintly reflecting a peerless and imposing figure, instantly causing her entire aura to strengthen by a great deal. Dim Rainbow Dao Sword. It was an ancient treasure that had been strengthened by an Emperor Realm expert's supreme magic power. Rumble. Almost at the same time, in other directions, the peerless figures from various worlds gritted their teeth and displayed their trump cards. A dazzling flaming divine hammer appeared in Qi Lingzi's hand. From afar, it looked like he was holding a sun. A Tai Chi yin-yang diagram appeared beneath Li Yu's feet. Yin and yang blended together, separating the clear from the turbid. Lai Dongzhan held an ancient white bone seal in his hand, and countless demonic shadows appeared within it. These peerless figures were all outstanding talents of the world. They were either from ancient clans or large sects. So how could they not possess treasures that could be called forbidden treasures? They held treasures in their hands, and every single one of them had world-shaking auras. Nearby them, there were Saint Kings following them, and they joined forces, suppressing from different areas. Undoubtedly, after witnessing Lin Sun's terrifying means, they all began to fight desperately, not daring to hold back or hide anything. But the current Lin Sun was no longer the same as before. He suddenly stopped moving and calmly said, "I'm about to make a breakthrough. I'll take this opportunity to open your eyes and see what it means to be invincible in this realm." Suppress. Lin Sun looked down from the sky and took a deep breath. His figure turned into an endless abyss, and a terrible breath was released from his body. And one of his hands slapped down in the void. It was just a hand, but it turned into a furnace, which contained all kinds of great ways and deduced all kinds of unfathomable Taoism. It actually showed a kind of vast and heavy feeling that could suppress the past and the present. Boom! At this moment, a strange scene appeared in everyone's eyes. That figure turned into a great abyss, covering the sky and the sun, and his hand turned into a furnace of great ways, illuminating the sky. The blazing light, the roaring sound, the soaring divine power. At this moment, Lin Sun was like an invincible supreme being who would crush all obstacles. This was indeed Lin Sun's ultimate power in the great saint realm. After 6 years of tempering in the silent starry sky, it was the first time that he completely released his combat strength after his Taoism had been transformed to the extreme. Shui Biyun, Qi Lingzi, Li Yu, Lai Dongzhan, and others were all horrified. They couldn't suppress the depression in their hearts, and they felt suffocated and collapsed. How could this kind of power be possessed by the great saint realm? Originally, they were extremely confident in their trump cards, but when they saw Lin Sun's palm at this moment, they suddenly didn't have much confidence. Boom! Lin Sun's palm finally pressed down. Here, it was as if the sky and earth were turned upside down, the sun and the moon were reversed, and everything collapsed. It was almost impossible to describe this palm with words. The infinite light of the way, like the 9 heavens Milky Way, poured down from the big hand that covered the sky, filling up the universe. Before the palm power arrived, the void had collapsed and exploded. Bang, bang, bang. All kinds of ancient treasures, divine weapons, and Taoism skills whizzed out from the hands of the people present and bombarded the palm. But it was useless. Even if it was a peerlessly sharp and miraculous treasure, it was unable to break through the palm print that enveloped him. Kill! At this moment, everyone went crazy and risked their lives, feeling the fatal threat. But it was destined to be in vain. Lin Sun's cultivation was already extremely terrifying in the great saint realm, enough to dominate the past, present, and future. He could be said to be invincible in the heavens. At this moment, he released his power to the extreme. How could that kind of power be easily resisted? Boom! In front of Emperor Yu's divine palace, the ground shook violently. Countless restrictive forces surged like the tide, trying their best to resolve the aftermath of this palm. Even so, the nearby ground cracked like a spider web. When the smoke and dust dissipated, when the roar gradually subsided, a group of people were lying on the ground in disorder. Some of the ordinary, peerless great saints were crushed by the pressure of the palm. Some of the saint kings who rushed at the front were also killed, more than a dozen. And those who were not dead were seriously injured, lying in a pool of blood, screaming miserably. As for peerless figures like Qiliang Zi and Shui Biyun, they had life-saving secret treasures on them, so they didn't die. But even so, they were seriously injured and in a mess. Puff! Qiliang Zi coughed up blood. His face was pale, and his figure was badly mutilated. He couldn't get up again. Shui Biyun coughed violently. Her black dress was torn, revealing her snow-white skin. Her hair was disheveled, and her face was full of horror and horror. The others were the same. Lin Sun's palm had suppressed all of them. Whether they were peerless great saints or saint kings, they were all suppressed, dead, or injured. How could all this be described as terrifying? At first, whether it was Qiliang Zi, Shui Biyun, or other peerless figures, although they were surprised by Lin Sun's extraordinary combat power, they almost ignored him, because there was no saint king among Lin Sun's group. But at this moment, they bitterly understood why there was no saint king accompanying Lin Sun. There was no need at all. At this moment, everyone was lost, frightened, and uneasy. As for Yu Yunhe and the other two, they were also in a trance. Suppressed all of them with one palm. How could there be such a person in the world? Taoism peer, I'm far inferior to you. I'm sincerely convinced. Shui Biyun was the first to bow her head and admit defeat. Lin Sun's eyes were cold. He glanced at her and said, "At the beginning, I warned you not to make a mistake." Everyone's expression froze. At that time, who knew that such a terrible thing would happen? Who had seen that a peerless great saint could kill saint kings like killing chickens and monkeys? Taoism peer, we were all blind, so we made such a big mistake. I hope you can be merciful and let us go. Qiliang Zi swallowed his anger and said with difficulty, "We are all from the 9 worlds. If something happens to us, I'm afraid it will bring disaster to you." The others also spoke. All of them looked listless with a strong desire to survive. The more noble a person was, the more unwilling he was to die. On the contrary, ordinary people dared to fight with their lives when they were angry. Hearing this, Lin Sun glanced at Yu Yunhe and the others and sighed in his heart. If it were him, he wouldn't care about these things and would have killed them all. But now he couldn't do that. Yu Qingyang had given him guidance and help. If he did that, he could just leave, but the forces behind these people were bound to not let it go. At that time, they would definitely point the spear at Yu family, the imperial family. In the final analysis, it was because he didn't act alone this time, but with Yu Yunhe and the others, so he was worried and implicated. As these thoughts flashed in his mind, Lin Sun said, "Hand over your treasures, and I can forgive you. Remember, all of them. If you hide anything, I'll kill you without mercy." Even robbery couldn't be so cruel, right? Everyone was dumbfounded and their hearts trembled. They came from extraordinary backgrounds, so they were naturally very rich. Even the king of sages might not have some of their most precious treasures, because they had a bright future and were destined to achieve limitless achievements in the future. They were specially taken care of by their elders and given precious treasures to protect themselves. But if they handed over all their treasures, they would definitely be severely punished when they returned. Not willing, Lin Sun said indifferently, his black eyes cold. Everyone trembled, looking at the blood and corpses on the ground. They thought of Lin Sun's cruel means and finally lowered their heads. After all, compared with their lives, treasures were after all external things. Next, Qiliang Zi and the others handed over their treasures one after another. They all looked submissive, but their hearts were bleeding. It was not easy for them to collect these treasures with their status, but now, they all became others' trophies. I'll let you be arrogant now. When we leave the DU's secret realm, I'll make you spit out 10 times or even 100 times what you've taken. Qi Lingzi shouted with resentment in his heart. The others were also full of resentment, but they didn't show it on the surface. Boom! When a king of sages handed over his treasures, Lin Sun suddenly raised his hand and forced him to kneel on the ground. His tendons and bones were all broken. You want to go back on your word? The king of sages was furious, and the others were horrified. I told you to hand over all your treasures, but you're not obedient, Lin Sun said and stretched out his hand. With a swoosh, a green divine needle that was as thin as a cow's hair flew out from the king of sages' hair. Lin Sun looked at it and realized that it was a storage treasure. The king of sages seemed to have a bad premonition and said with a trembling voice, "Please have mercy. I didn't do it on purpose." Bang. Chapter 1894. Lin Sun's eyes were cold as he glanced around. You want to live without paying the price. How can there be such a good thing in this world? Everyone's expression changed indeterminately. Whoosh! Suddenly, Liu broke a Taoist talisman in his hand. A dazzling divine light shrouded him, and he disappeared into thin air. Spatial teleportation would also produce energy fluctuations. However, under the envelopment of the talisman's power, the Sage King actually vanished into thin air, not leaving a single trace behind. Great Void Secret Talisman. Someone recognized it. Only those in the Emperor realm could refine such a treasure. It could ignore the rules of space and was like a small transmission formation. It could disappear in an instant without causing any power fluctuations. It was extremely precious. This is a world covered by a Taoist forbidden formation. Can we escape? Lin Sun waved his sleeve. Boom! The Taoist forbidden formation in the distance shone with dazzling divine light. Then a scream came out. No. It was Li Yu's scream, full of fear and despair. But soon his voice stopped abruptly, and there was no more movement. At this moment, Qiliang and the others were trembling with fear. Only now did they realize that Lin Sun had not only broken through the layers of Tao pattern restrictive arrays like a hot knife through butter, he had also become the first expert to reach Emperor Yu's celestial palace. He could even use the layers of Tao pattern restriction arrays that covered this place. If it was in other places, Liu could retreat safely with the help of the Great Void Secret Talisman. But now he was in trouble. For a moment, no one dared to take chances and handed over all the treasures they had. I wonder if this little girl can know your name? Shui Biyun asked after hesitating for a moment. Lin Sun said with a faint smile, "Do you want to remember my name so that you can take revenge in the future?" Shui Biyun's face stiffened and she shook her head. "I dare not. It's already a great kindness for you to forgive us." Lin Daoyuan. Lin Sun told her his Taoist name. He was not afraid of being remembered. After leaving the secret realm of Daiyu, he would leave this world. At that time, it would not be easy for the forces behind these guys to take revenge in the vast starry sky. It's not that person. Shui Biyun seemed to be very surprised and disappointed at the same time. Who? Lin Sun said. Fellow Daoist cultivation is profound, and your battle prowess is unparalleled. I almost thought that you were Lin Sun, who is currently ranked first on the Starry Sky Great Saints list. Shui Biyun answered honestly. Lin Sun. It was just a name, but it caused everyone's pupils to constrict. That was a peerless, ruthless person who had killed so many people in the Kunlun ruins that even the successors of the 6 great Dao courts and the 10 great battle clans could not raise their heads. On the Starry Sky ancient path, who didn't know Lin Sun's fierce name. However, they did not think that Lin Sun was as powerful as Lin Daoyuan. After all, no matter how powerful Lin Sun was, he had only killed the ominous Great Sage. However, Lin Daoyuan could kill Sage Kings with ease. This subconscious cognition made them never associate Lin Sun with Lin Daoyuan from beginning to end. Only Lin Sun felt strange at his heart. In the end, Lin Sun didn't embarrass them. He pointed to the distance and let them leave. Qi Ling and the others hurriedly dragged their seriously injured bodies and left, as if they were afraid that Lin Sun would go back on his words. When they disappeared, Lin Sun turned around and looked at Emperor Yu's divine palace in the distance. He said, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and comprehend." Yu Yunhe and the others who were originally in shock seemed to have woken up from a dream. They nodded repeatedly and took action. Lin Sun took advantage of this free time to check the spoils of war he had just plundered. There were dozens of saint treasures of different quality, mountains of divine medicines and divine materials, bottles and jars of medicinal pills, and all kinds of rare treasures that were overflowing with brilliant lights. The harvest was so great that it was difficult to estimate its value. The most intuitive harvest was the number of Tao crystals, which added up to more than 3 million. It made Lin Sun sigh in his heart. No one could be rich without a windfall. However, after thinking about it, he felt relieved. For example, Qi Ling and the others were all geniuses of the world. They were born into noble families, so they were naturally rich. I got it. Suddenly, Yu Yunhe shouted. He looked excited and beamed with joy. It turns out that the 9 cauldrons water harnessing diagram of Emperor Yu is the inheritance left by our ancestor. Beside him, Yu Yunfeng and Yu Yunlong opened their eyes. They couldn't hide their disappointment and envy. They were all disciples of Yu Clan, but they had no fate with the inheritance of their ancestor. Lin Sun couldn't help but be surprised. "Brother Lin, let's not delay. Let's enter the palace together." Yu Yunhe said, "Okay." Lin Sun nodded. The group moved. With a gentle push, the ancient and majestic palace door opened slowly in front of them. Outside the 9 Cauldrons Mountain, we lost a lot of soldiers and returned without any achievement. This trip is really a double loss. Qi Ling, Shui Biyun, and the others looked at each other and saw the bitterness in each other's eyes. Feelings of regret, rage, and resentment seemed to be fermenting as they spread and seethed in their hearts, causing their expressions to change indeterminately. They thought that it would be a gathering of the elites of the 9 realms. Who would have thought that such a ruthless person like Lin Sun would appear? They were all seriously injured. Their clothes were stained with blood, and they were dispirited. They couldn't hide it from others when they walked out of the 9 Cauldrons mountain range. Soon, the truth about the bloody battle in front of Emperor Yu's celestial palace spread quickly. The cultivators who were looking for opportunities in the Dayu mystery realm were all shocked and in an uproar. The news spread from 1 to 10 and from 10 to 100. In the end, it spread outside the Dayu mystery realm. The countless cultivators waiting outside were dumbstruck, and they were repeatedly shocked. Lin Daoyuan, who moved with the disciples of Yu Clan, entered Emperor Yu's celestial palace. Lin Daoyuan alone suppressed the heroes of the 9 realms. He suppressed everyone with 1 palm. Lin Daoyuan killed a great sage as if he was tearing a painting. He killed a king of sages as if he was slaughtering chickens and monkeys. Every piece of news was like a shocking hurricane that caused a huge uproar. Then it started to sweep across the entire Dayu world. The influential figures from the 9 realms and the great Tao orthodoxies and tribes of the Dayu world were all shocked when they heard about it. At this moment, Lin Daoyuan's name resounded in the sky of the Dayu world, in the Yu clan of Jiuhua Divine Mountain. When the news about Lin Sun spread out, all the clansmen of the Yu clan, including Yu Bikong, were in a trance for a while. How could that boy surnamed Lin be so cruel? Yu Bikong and the others were both happy and worried. They were happy that Yu Yunhe and the other juniors would be able to get unexpected and amazing benefits from Emperor Yu's celestial palace. They were worried that Lin Sun's action would completely offend the top forces from the 9 realms. It was like poking a hornet's nest. It was even very likely that this storm would implicate the Yu clan. No, this matter is of great importance. I have to ask Ancestor Qingyang. Yu Bikong took a deep breath and made a decision. However, when she saw Yu Qingyang, the answer she got stunned her. Inform the world that Lin Daoyuan has nothing to do with the Yu clan. If anyone has the ability to kill him, they can do so. This was Yu Qingyang's answer. Ancestor, this. Yu Bikong hesitated for a moment. Wasn't this a little too decisive? It was like burning the bridge after crossing it. Go. Yu Qingyang didn't explain anymore. Yes. Yu Bikong suppressed her doubts and left in a hurry. Ancestor, how can you do this? Nan Xiao, who had been watching everything from the side, turned deathly pale. She bit her lips so hard that they almost bled. Silly girl, don't worry. How could I harm my savior? Yu Qingyang couldn't help laughing. He was very clear that Lin Sun would definitely break through the realm if nothing went wrong. With Lin Sun's foundation, when he became a peerless holy king, who in the Dayu world could be his opponent, even the top figures of the Emperor-to-be would have a hard time suppressing him. As for the Emperor-to-be, how could they fight over such a trivial matter? Unless Lin Sun exposed his true identity, he might arouse the attention of the Emperor-to-be and fight. Seeing that Nan Xiao was still nervous, Yu Qingyang couldn't help but laugh. He looked at the distant sky and said slowly, "What's more, you still have me." Such an understatement might be insignificant if it was said by others. But when it came from the mouth of the Qingyang Saber Emperor, who had shocked the starry sky and dominated the world for 8,000 years, its weight was enough to make the whole world tremble. Nan Xiao felt a little relieved and let out a long breath. Star Jade Sword Pavilion, the #1 orthodoxy in the Dayu world. The incident that occurred in the Dayu secret realm also spread to the stellar Jade Sword Pavilion at the first possible moment, and it caused a great stir for a time. The reason was that the top figures of the 9 realms did not act alone this time. Instead, they were accompanied by their seniors or clan elders. The bigwigs of the top forces of the 9 realms gathered in the Star Jade Sword Pavilion and discussed matters in a hall. Lin Daoyuan, a peerless great saint who can kill a king saint? Is there such a heaven-defying figure in this world? Someone was surprised. No matter who he is, he must be killed for daring to attack the juniors around us so viciously. Someone was furious. What did the Yu clan say? Someone frowned and pondered. They said that Lin Daoyuan has nothing to do with the Yu clan. They told us not to worry and to attack. Many bigwigs were stunned when they heard such an answer. What? What is the Yu clan thinking? Are they worried that we will vent our anger on them? So they want to sacrifice the pawn to protect the king? There was a lot of discussion. Everyone, take your time. I'm going out for a walk. Suddenly, a white-haired man in snow-white clothes stood up and walked out of the hall. The atmosphere in the hall suddenly became silent. The discussion stopped, and it was dead silent. Feng Rushue. He was the top peerless great saint king in the Rue Jin Great World. He was a peerless sword cultivator who had traveled the world with a sword for 3,000 years and had never tasted defeat. Anyone who saw him seemed to see a divine sword hanging high in the sky, shining brightly like the sun. Seeing the white-robed Feng Rushue leave alone, the big shots from the 9 realms all had different expressions on their faces. They knew that Feng Rushue was going to kill,